So today in Empire is the Way, I had Dr. Ryan Russ, the peptide king. He came through to talk to us a little bit about longevity, about peptides, about HGH, about testosterone, about diet, eating healthy and living pretty much free, making money and being an entrepreneur here in Miami. So check out the podcast. Tell me what you guys think, and I hope you enjoy it.
A blown out anabolic steroid versus something that's natural, like a nutraceutical supplement that might boost certain levels, whether it's testosterone or.
Okay, so you mentioned you also did chiropractic for.
Unless you're above me, I don't listen to anything you say.
All right, so first of all, thank you for being here. I appreciate it, Dr. Russ.
No problem.
So
man.
I want to ask you something, right? Peptide King.
Right.
The moniker Peptide King. Can you tell me a little bit about where that comes from?
So, that'd be kind of a real long story to break down. I think that goes all the way back to the beginning. But if we want to keep it short, obviously branding nowadays is the name of the game. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
So I learned as, being a newer entrepreneur, I've only been in the game realistically, truly, I'd say I've only been a true entrepreneur for the last year. Moved down to Miami 2 years ago, really started learning about this stuff. My first mentor down here, I don't want to say he was a scam artist, but he was definitely on the line of that. But again, super smart guy, younger than me, but he did teach me a lot. He never scammed me. I got a lot of valuable information out of him, and he's kind of the guy who taught me, you got to brand yourself, man. You want to get somewhere in life, you want to really be an entrepreneur, start your branding, build your personal brand, and obviously from there, that's really when you're going to take off. And that's what a lot of these guys don't do is they might have a service to offer, a product to offer, but they don't brand themselves.
Right.
Because when it comes to, buying something from someone, they're not buying the product, bro. They're buying, you. They're buying the culture that you've created or the community. That's why a lot of these guys, I'm like, look, you start something online, it's digital. Dude, make a Discord. Start building your community. Offer free value inside that Discord. All your guys are going to talk. That's what's going to kind of go more viral, and that's really what's going to blow you up. So it's branding. So, obviously my branding is Dr. Russ, as on the doctor side, and then obviously Peptide King. That's newer for me because, like I said, I've always been into peptides, but, I want to really be just blow up the peptides, bring a lot more awareness to it because still, even down here in Miami, the mecca of anti-aging, I could do a survey and ask 10 people if they know what peptides are. Dude, still 7 or 8 out of 10 will say, I don't know what that is. I'm like, well, you know what growth hormone is or testosterone? They're like, oh, yeah, okay. But they don't really know what peptides are, how they work. Obviously, they're similar mechanisms, but they really still don't know. So bringing awareness to that, and obviously it's going to become a huge market. So we're just hitting the cusp of that. So I'm getting in at the right time to really brand myself, set myself up for a lot of success with peptides.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned 7 out of 10 people don't really know what a peptide really is. And even myself, I'm like, I know that peptide, I guess, is a entry level, I guess, like maybe an in-between, just like
a blown out anabolic steroid versus something that's natural, like a nutraceutical supplement that might boost certain levels, whether it's testosterone or your growth hormone levels, right? Is that kind of...
Yeah, I was going to say like something in between simple and super complicated,
exactly.
which would be HGH on the complicated side, testosterone, super simple, maybe like just a regular vitamin, stuff like that you get.
Exactly, yeah.
But is that kind of like a right analysis? Peptides are in the middle?
Exactly. In layman's terms, we can break it down. So obviously, peptides are synthetic.
Okay.
They're already being made in your body naturally. So peptides by nature are like a chain of amino acids. So for instance, with testosterone, we'll use that as an example because most people know what that is.
Right.
Let's say you inject your testosterone replacement therapy prescribed by your doctor weekly. It's because your natural levels obviously are lower. You don't make that anymore for whatever reason it might be. So you have to take a synthetic testosterone to keep your testosterone levels at, say, 800. Let's call that normal.
Right.
So on blood work, 3 to 800 is your range, or 3 to 1200. Every lab's a little different. Let's just say 800 is that average. So you're taking a certain dose for your body to keep you at that 800. Now, let's say you stop taking it, though. you're going to crash down to almost zero because you have in your body what's called a negative feedback loop. When you inject testosterone, your testicles obviously is what's making that testosterone naturally. If you start injecting it, your brain, the center axis, is going to signal your testes and say, hey, we're getting plenty of exogenous testosterone, stop making it. That's why they say, you know, obviously the myth in the day is just, oh, you take steroids, your
balls will shrink.
Yeah, number one, your balls shrink, but everybody says your junk's small. Like, no, it actually makes your junk bigger, you know, but it's going to, you know, it's going to shrink your testicles because they stop making your natural testosterone. So that's what a negative feedback loop is, basically.
Got it.
Your body sees that it's getting plenty from the outside, which is exogenous because you're injecting it. So then it shuts off your production. So when you quit taking it, that line is cut almost like a fishing line. It's cut. So you have to take natural hormones like enclomiphene or Clomid and other things to try to turn your brain back on to tell your testicles to start reproducing the testosterone. And a lot of time that doesn't work. You know, if you've been using testosterone for 10 years, it's hard to do that. So with peptides, it's a little different. They're produced in your body. So let's say your pituitary gland, that's in your brain. That's what produces your real natural growth hormone. Well, after you're 25 years old, let's just say you're going to lose about 0.5 to 1% of your productivity, your production per year of it. So it's going to just slowly go down as you decline in age. That's obviously where our aging happens. Growth hormone decreases, you get more wrinkles, you get less collagen. That's where the wrinkles come from. You age, you don't recover as quick, your sleep's not as good. That's really what makes you age. So that's why they say, oh, growth hormone is the ultimate youth drug. So the cool thing about the peptides is, let's say you had a 80% optimum growth hormone level. Okay. And you didn't really need real growth hormone. Because if you take real growth hormone, same thing. Your pituitary is going to stop producing it. When you quit taking it exogenously, you're probably going to crash out. Well, with the peptides, when you inject a peptide, let's say you're at 80%, it's going to boost you to the full maximum 100% to the ceiling, but it won't necessarily go above that. But then let's say you take them for 6 months and you quit taking them. You're going to keep all the gains that you made. And also, too, you're not going to go back to zero. It's just stimulating what's already there naturally. So, you're not hitting that negative feedback loop and stopping your production. It's actually synergistic, and it just enhances what's already there. So that's the difference. Realistically, if you take testosterone in game, when you stop taking it, you're going to go to zero and crash out. You take peptides wherever you are. Let's say you don't even do your blood work, you have no idea, but you start taking them, it's going to boost up as much as possible to a maximum level. And then if you stop taking them, you're going to stay there, or you're going to come back down to where you were before you start taking them, but you're not going to go below that threshold. You're not going to crash all the way down to zero because your body's still producing them. So it's just going to turn the pituitary on more to make additional amounts.
Got it. And do you need to take anything? Like if you decide, peptides is not for me for whatever reason, you take it, you stop, you don't crash. Is there anything you need to take to go back to neutral, or you just kind of go back to neutral by itself?
Yeah, you can just stop taking them, and then it'll just stop revving it up. It's almost like in a car. Well, if you put 87 gas in your car, it'll get good gas mileage. It'll have, say, whatever horsepower it produces. But if you put 93 in it, or you put like a race gas, 110 octane, you're going to get better performance. You're going to boost up the horsepower. You're going to boost up your gas mileage. It's the same thing. It's almost like octane booster to your body. Got it. It's just adding to. It's never going to take away after the fact.
Now with for example, testosterone. You take testosterone, I think you could see visual effects pretty fast if you're in the cycle, doing what you're supposed to do.
Because most people are using testosterone, not necessarily for TRT. Most of these guys that are our age, even mid-30s, they still want to put on a little more muscle, burn some body fat. They want to look better, but they still want to stay in that realm of, hey, I don't want to do too much and be some big bodybuilder and be unhealthy, but they do want to, they want to get the nice appearance. They want the six-pack. They want to have the libido and the sex drive to be a lot higher. They want to feel 20 again, basically. Yeah.
But with peptides, A, does it get to those levels, or how close does it get to? And B, how long do you have to take them for them to start showing the effects and stuff like that?
So with peptides, the cool thing is there's all kinds of different types. So for instance, like my top 5 sellers, like tesamorelin is one that's a growth hormone, secretog, which means it increases your natural growth hormone levels and stimulates it. But it specifically targets the adipose tissue on the abdominal area, which means it burns stomach body fat. So they all almost do different things. Kind of like if we got into real anabolics, not TRT, but like bodybuilding, like obviously testosterone is testosterone. That's your base. You've got equipoise, which is a hardener, and, you know, it gives you crazy pumps. You know, you've got NPP, which is, you know, something that a lot of these guys use in the off season. It helps your joints for joint pain. It puts a lot of size on. You've got Masteron, which a lot of these bodybuilders use for, you know, a hardener drug for a show. It kind of pulls estrogen levels down and dries you out, makes you really strong. So it's the same realm in peptides. So like the tesamorelin is going to cut body fat, give you crazy pumps, put muscle on, burn body fat. It's still going to give you all the benefits, though, that all the regular growth hormones do, which is going to be, you know, anti-aging, tighten your skin, help you with sleep and recovery, you know, things like that, which is awesome. So all the growth hormone peptides do that. So, for instance, tesamorelin is really good for the fat burning. The CJC ipamorelin is probably our second biggest seller. That one, I say, is kind of our all-around just, it's the mecca of peptides. You're going to get all the anti-aging benefits, skin, hair, nails, sleep. You're going to get muscle building. You're going to get fat loss. It's the most popular one. You'll see results from that one the first day you take it. You know, you'll see results.
And what is the name of that one again?
CJC 1295, and then like an ipamorelin mix. It's a combo. It's two different peptides mixed in one. They're very synergistic together. That's one of our top sellers.
Okay.
But yeah, it's gonna and again, when I want to say this, they're safe for men and women. A lot of people have that question. So one of our females, she's actually one of our ambassador athletes. She was taking some other peptides, other things. She competes, but she took my CJC ipamorelin. Called me the next morning. She obviously takes melatonin to sleep, you know, like THC gummies. She doesn't sleep well. I said, don't take any of that. Just take the peptide tonight. Call me tomorrow and let me know, hey, sleep. I've got the message still that we could put out. But she was like, holy shit, Ryan, this is the deepest, best sleep I've ever got in my life. I woke up, felt like I could run 10 miles right off the bat. Usually I wake up groggy. I'm still tired, don't feel rested. And so, you know, that speaks for itself, but that's kind of what the CJC ipamorelin does. So it's an all-around anti-aging peptide, huge for sleep, muscle building, fat loss. So you can't say enough about them. They're incredible. Obviously, people are like, oh, what side effects do they have? I mean, again, they're still doing a lot of research. You know, so far, most of the ones that had really bad side effects, they've already kind of ruled out. You don't really get them anymore. Like, you know, so, you know, the ones that we do now are the safest ones out there based off the research. But again, when you want to say safe, what's safe and effective, things like that, I mean, they're much safer than testosterone, a lot of these other drugs out there anyways. Yeah. Because like the worst side effect is probably like, say, our melanotan. It tans you, it gives you crazy pumps, it helps with libido. The worst side effect of that one is, you know, when you inject it, you get kind of a flushed face, almost like you took niacin. You'll feel a little queasy for about an hour. And after that, it goes away. Same thing with the CJC ipamorelin. You don't get really queasy, but when you take it, your whole body gets kind of hot. You feel flush, and like that's how you really know you're getting a good dose too. You'll feel it. I mean, you go in the gym, work out right after that, you're going to immediately get pumps. You're going to feel good.
So peptides, you also have to inject.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, most of the peptides now they have peptides that are oral, but yeah, all the ones that I do are injectable. They're much more effective, obviously, as an injection. They have nasal sprays, all kinds of different applications you can use. But I only do the injectable versions because to me they're much more effective. Obviously, the shelf life's going to be much longer. It's like with our products, you know, or any peptide out there, if it's a good quality, if it's lipolyzed, which means it's in a powder form, it's not mixed. From the day it's made, you have about 2 years to keep its full potency, which is awesome. You know what I mean? So you can store it, you could use it. Same like testosterone. Testosterone, as long as you keep it out of light, keep it in a drawer, your testosterone bottle's good for a year or two. You're not going to have any problems. You're not going to lose any potency with it because it's suspended in an oil base. But the peptides, all of ours come lipolyzed in that powder version, so they're very stable. You know, you can ship them, you can travel with them. As long as you're not getting them above about 140 degrees, you're not going to have any breakdown of the product itself. And again, if you're somewhere that's over 140 degrees, that's kind of tough to do, you know. You're putting it out in the sunlight in Vegas, you know, in the middle of summer, leaving it in the desert for a week or something, you know.
It's going to turn bad pretty quick.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, but obviously, who's leaving their peptides out like that? You know what I mean?
Nobody. And okay, so you got these peptides. Peptides are compounds. Are they considered compounds? Are they mixed or
yeah? I mean, there's all kinds of different words people use for them. But yeah, I mean, the peptides obviously get made. They get compounded from a powder. created, cut, and then put into the vials, just like anything else would.
Okay. So, for example, for the person who's looking, let's say, you know what, I want to go see a TRT clinic because I don't feel like myself, or I'm losing, some potency like that. Would you suggest going through the peptides first before TRT, or is that?
And that's where it gets tricky. Because a lot of these guys don't want to get blood work, so you can't really say. But yeah, if you get blood work, let's say you went to my clinic or any clinic of that nature that knows what they're doing. Doesn't matter if it's my clinic or not. You go to a clinic, if they're running your blood work, they're going to be able to tell you really, truly what you need metabolically. I'd say 80% of people that come through our clinics, they need everything. Mm-hmm. Most people nowadays are deficient in vitamins. Their growth hormone levels are low. Because, like I said, we're mid-30s, early 40s. We're going to be suppressed. Our growth hormone levels, we've already lost 25%. So you're going to need that for sure. All the, products we put on our bodies, our colognes, the detergents we use, the spoons that we eat with, the plastic bottles we drink out of, all those things are toxins that, damage your hormones, and they're hormone disruptors, so they're going to lower your hormones and testosterone. So, I can't tell you, probably maybe 10 out of every 1,000 patients we see don't need like some sort of hormones if they're above 30 years old. You know what I mean? They all need some sort of help. Now, we might not put them on testosterone. We might put them on a natural protocol, which will be like your Clomid, gonadorelin or HCG, and a little bit of a anastrozole, which kind of regulates their estrogen levels. And we'll do a combo of that for like 6 months, and we'll boost them back up, kind of like I said with the peptides. It turns everything on and stimulates. Then we'll slowly take them off that, and it'll stay back up. So that's another option, because a lot of guys don't want to do an injection a couple times a week the rest of their life. So we can re-stimulate their hormones usually with the natural protocol too.
Yeah, I think once you start a program, you got to kind of stay on it to get the results.
Yeah, it'll be like with our clinic, it'd be medically monitored. So let's say you wanted to boost your testosterone levels, but you don't want to take testosterone. Yeah, we would put you on what we call our natural protocol. It's still a prescription, but it's not something that, like you said, once you start taking it, you have to take it forever.
Yeah.
We would put you on it. We would redo your blood work in about 12 weeks, check your levels, see how high your testosterone's coming. And based on that level where you're at 3 months, we would probably do 3 more months or 6 more months based on how slowly or quickly your levels are rising. And then once you get kind of back to your peak, let's say 800, 700 in that acceptable range, you're feeling really good again, then we would take you off of it. And then we would wait 6 months and redo it one more time and make sure you are staying up. Now, let's say you're not staying up, and you come back even in 3 months after we pull you off, and you just say, hey, doc, I'm not feeling good again. I'm kind of already feel like I'm heading back to where I was. Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and draw your labs so you don't continue to feel bad. And if your levels have dropped a couple hundred points, we'll go ahead and put you on testosterone. Now, that's what we normally do if you're like under 40 years old. You know what I mean? Because, if you are the doctor prescribing, you don't want to be here prescribing testosterone to, 20, 25-year-olds. Because, number one, it's not going to go well with the boards in your state, because most of the time it's not needed. Natural protocol, boost them back up. But yeah, if you're 35 or over, it's perfectly acceptable to do that and put them on it right away most of the time.
What do you think about these young kids who are taking testosterone in their early 20s because they want to max out and they want to have this look, but at the same time, what do you think the after effects are for future?
I'll just say it's not good. We can get into that a little bit. Again, I feel like that's why I'm doing what I do now. Mm-hmm. Obviously started as a chiropractor, became kind of a hormone specialist. I got into that realm because of my situation. That's what I did. 17 years old, started taking testosterone. I remember the first time I ever did it, some kind of crazy British Dragons brand, probably over from Europe, the glass ampules one of my boys gave me. I was a skinny kid. I was graduated high school at 128 pounds at 6'1", soaking wet. You know what I mean?
I'm looking at you now, and I can't even see that. I can't even fathom that.
And I'll give you a picture when we do the podcast. You can post that up as the front page, like a before and after. But my bicep was smaller than my wrist is now, tiny.
Right.
All the way through, just one of those super lanky, streaming guys. But so I get guys coming up to me in the gym all the time now because they know who I am now. I've kind of made a name for myself in Miami, and I tell them, hey, they're like, oh, should I get on test? I'm like, no, 100% no. I'm like, if you really want to put muscle on, let's do the other route. Like I said, let's go peptides. We have IGF-1, that's insulin-like growth factor, huge for muscle building. So for the people out there that don't know how that one works, IGF-1's incredible. It's a growth hormone secretagogue, just like the other ones we already talked about, but the beautiful thing about it, let's say your bicep, for instance, your biceps the size it is now. You're doing everything you always have. You're kind of the same size, and you want to put some size on. Well, you have 100 bicep muscle fibers. If we take IGF, you can inject it locally too, right into the site, whatever you want to grow. So let's say after a 12-week cycle, we've now created IGF creates what we call hyperplasia. It splits the large muscle fibers into two smaller ones, so then those two smaller ones can then grow to the size of the original single one, which is why some of these big bodybuilders are just massive. So again, IGF is the way to go, and we sell that peptide too. So it's like, I'm like, if you're really just some hard gainer like I was, skinny, if I had known about it, that's what I would have done. I would have done IGF, a growth hormone, another growth hormone peptide, eating a ton of food, made sure my training was on point, and I probably could have gotten, pretty big without ruining my hormones at a young age. Now again, I always had low testosterone, obviously, before I did all that. I had my blood levels checked. They were low, but then obviously I made the decision personally on my own to take, testosterone. I wouldn't want to sit here and say it's a bunch of anabolic steroids, but I did testosterone and I messed it up further, and we tried to recoup it. I took Clomid, did that natural route. I mean, I'll be up, again, don't talk about this stuff much. I'll be candid though. I mean, I put a gun in my mouth, took that drug, and it made me crazy. I wanted to kill myself. Now again, back then when I was younger doing it, the doctors didn't have the protocols we have today. For instance, like they were giving me 50 milligrams of Clomid, taking one of those every single day. I mean, it was so much on my body. It was just, it creates a lot of estrogen with it. It was making me super emotional. I just felt like a crazy female that was, who knows? But it basically, I wanted to blow my head off. Obviously, I didn't, but it made me feel that way. And I was like, I can't do this. Went back. I was like, I can't take this stuff. And obviously at that point, they were like, okay, we're going to do some testosterone with you. And I've just been on it ever since, because it's hormones are just nothing to mess around with. They're very serious. You do something wrong. I mean, like you said, you can get to the point where some of these guys, you might end your life. Our waiver when we stop hormone therapy with anyone, even if they're 60 years old, states, hey, if you have any issues, you start feeling emotional, et cetera, we got a big list. We're like, call us immediately. We're going to help you and adjust things, or like whatever it might be. We don't want you harming yourself, because you might go jump off a damn bridge if you just go from, let's say you're doing TRT, taking 200 milligrams a test week, and you just like, I don't want to take this anymore. You just cold turkey it. Your hormones are going to bottom out, and people become unpredictable when you change hormones.
Right.
Just like females. Everybody knows how females act during their cycles monthly. Some of them handle it well. Some of them go batshit crazy.
You just
they
want to
can't
stay
handle
away from them.
So it's the same thing in men.
Right.
When we start messing with our hormones and testosterone, man, it can be a disaster.
Yeah, especially if naturally we're not equipped for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's even a worse extreme at some level, no?
Yeah, it can be, and obviously I'm giving extreme case scenarios. Yeah. Probably 80% of the population wouldn't, but it's still just something you need that most people don't talk about. They're not aware of. It's like, hey, you're one of these 18-year-old kids out here, and you just decide to take testosterone and do a big cycle, and then you just cold turkey it. I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? If they're already an aggressive person, they come from maybe a military background like I do and know how to fight, have that kind of mindset in their brain, and someone messes with them, they could go off and hurt somebody. You snap. You don't know what can happen, so you just got to be careful when you're messing with your hormones.
So you mentioned you also did chiropractic for quite a while. So is that what really got you into this journey, or was it just like the you starting to take testosterone at 17, maybe the mishap? How do you? Yeah,
so for me, if we go way back before that, probably ever since middle school, man, I never really fit in anywhere. Obviously, I'm from Alabama. I mean, people that know me around here, you see my tattoos now, you see my look. I mean, in my mind and internally, I've always been how I look now, appearance on the outside. And in Alabama, that's just not the case. You have one tattoo in Alabama, and they're like, oh, you're in the Bible Belt over there. They're judging you. You're going to hell. So I never fit in. So, yeah, when I was younger, I got picked on. I got beat up. Parents made me play every sport, hated sports. I was more of a wheel guy, if you want to call it. I love motorcycles, fast cars, I raced dirt bikes, got hurt a lot doing that, but it was incredible. That's what I like to do. My brother was like the sports guy. So, yeah, my parents made me play football. I got ran over in practice every day, made fun of, spit on, because I just, it just wasn't my thing. I hated it, but I was forced into it, and, it was what it was. But, again, would I take any of that back? No, it made me tough as shit. Mm-hmm. Maybe the man I am today, and learn it's just like, hey, life's not fair. Sometimes you got to do shit you don't want to do. You don't have a choice, and you just fucking go through it and hammer it out and get past it, and, you just learn from it. It's always, one of my mentors told me, he's like, hey, you never lose. It's just lessons. You know what I mean? You're never going to lose. Even if you lost $1 million, hey, I didn't lose $1 million. That was a lesson I learned. Now I'm going to take that loss or lesson and turn it into $10 million, 3 months later. So I don't look at things as losses and setbacks. I look at them as just ways to move forward. And I think for anybody, if that's the way you look at life, have that mentality, you can't lose, bro.
Yeah,
there's no way.
No,
it's impossible.
That's wisdom, man.
Yeah, exactly. You get knocked down 100 times, you get back up 101.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I came from. Like I said, being a military family, I mean, I had pretty rough upbringing. Now, again, people who know me back home, I mean, I come from a money family. My dad was an orthopedic surgeon, very well off. Did I get some of those things? Of course. I was always taken care of, always had a roof over my head, food, things that I wanted. But my family, again, being militaristic, it was like I had to hustle my ass off to get any of those things, though. You know what I mean? It was like, it wasn't just, privilege. It was like, well, hey, if you don't do this, when I was a kid, you don't take out the trash, you don't make your bed, you don't do your laundry, you don't do all this, well, then you don't fucking get dinner tonight. You know what I mean? You're not eating at the dinner table. We're going to give you whatever. It's like, so, you got
to earn your way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think meritocracy is the best type of any type of way to live, is just to earn your piece.
Oh,
because otherwise you don't get to keep it, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what's wrong with this generation. Everybody's soft. It's participation trophies and just all this shit. And it's like, I don't have empathy for that anymore. I'm like, that's not how I grew up. Look at me. I turned out just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, enjoy life, great life, girlfriend, have a good time, building businesses. Not everybody wants that. Some people just want to be a family man and be peaceful and left alone. But at the end of the day, too, can you really take care of yourself as a man? Are you masculine? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's a big thing. You just got so many of these womanized men out here, and they're emotional, and they make emotional decisions, and they're always bitching and whining, and it's just like, dude, you're just making all the rest of us look bad,
Yeah, well,
it's like, what are you doing?
100%. It's funny, man. I hear the term toxic masculinity, right?
Oh, yeah. We could talk about that for an hour, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm 100% probably in that category to most people.
But listen to this. I got a caveat, because to me, toxic masculinity, the term toxic is...
That's when you're a narcissist and shit like that, though.
I actually not even... Look, listen to this one, and tell me what you think about this one. Toxic masculinity to me is a feminized man, because that's the toxic part, is when you're not 100%. Masculine. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
there's no such thing as too masculine.
Exactly, because it's like, I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Tony Robbins and some of the other guys out there, and some of these psychology guys, and they're like, hey, I'm much more scared of, like you said, a toxic masculine man than I am of just a full-blown militaristic
100%.
Masculine guy who knows he's super dangerous, but he can control his emotions and he won't harm a fly, and he's like a big teddy bear, versus the guy who, like you said, is toxic masculine, and you don't know what he's going to do. You turn your back 1 minute, next thing you turn around, you're getting hit in the back of the head, or he's going to kill you. Like you said, that's the toxic masculinity, is that's uncontrollable, type that you really don't know what the next move is. You got to be able to control your emotions.
Absolutely.
I'm dangerous. I'm fucking dangerous. You know what I mean? And people don't mess with me because they know that, but they know I can also control my emotions. You can come and get in my face and scream at me and tell me I'm whatever, this, that. I'm just going to laugh at you and go, bro, I know who I am. I don't care what you think. But you're never going to see me get in a fight or put hands on anybody unless someone puts hands on me first. And then even at that, it's like, I'm going to take you down. And then once you're down, I'm just going to keep you down. And then I'm just going to walk off or whatever it is. I'm not going to excessively keep going, because it's like, why do I need to show that much power? There's no point. It's like, I made my point already, but I've never even had to do that because people respect you. You know what I mean? Yeah. They feel that energy. They walk up and they're like, okay, 100%. This guy's an alpha. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to puff his chest out and, talk big and do all that. It's like, dude, I just stay silent and people just look at me and they go, I'm not fucking with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that, man. The aura speaks for itself.
100%. If people really read into it and they learn how to read energies, and if they don't know how to read them, a lot of them don't even recognize them. When you get around guys like me or you, in my opinion, you're going to feel it. You know what I mean? You're going to feel my energy. Yeah. When I walk in the room, you're going to go, oh, Dr. Russ is here. It's going to be a really good energy, but also, too, it's going to be, like you said, it's that alpha energy where it's like the people who aren't, they're like, okay, we're not challenging him. You know what I mean?
Now, do you think that your products also help people reach that type of if that is somebody's, like my goal is to do this physically, they can help them get to that point.
Yeah, because I think obviously, like we're talking about with hormones, I mean, it's a big mental thing. Like I said, you can come off of them and you crash out and you'll be unstable. Same thing. When you have proper hormones, everything's balanced, metabolic rate's good. Obviously, when you physically look good like we do, and you get to that point too by using peptides, hormones, whatever it is properly, you're going to have that super good confidence. You know what I mean? You're just going to feel good overall, mentally, physically, spiritually, in my opinion. And so, you're just going to thrive.
Yeah. What made you come to Miami from Alabama? Because you've been here for how long?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years.
So, I mean, my whole life I wanted to always live in Florida. I just love the beach and the ocean. But before I opened any of this stuff, I mean, when I was younger, like you said, my vision board was, I wanted to, because my dad was an orthopedic surgeon. Obviously, I knew I wanted to do something in the medical world. I figured out, I was like, I want to have like a full one-stop shop clinic, maybe a gym with it and all that kind of stuff. But how am I going to do that? I wanted like an outdoor gym. I'm like, it's got to be at the beach. I'm like, I don't like California. It's too liberal. I'm not politics guy, but at the same time, I'm like, I just
too much,
visited there. I just don't like the area. I'm like, Miami or just anywhere in South Florida is perfect. So, when I opened my original business for chiropractic, it was integrative chiropractic. So that's kind of how that came to life. And before that, obviously, I was going to go to med school, took the MCATs, was going to be a plastic surgeon actually, and had some other events happen, and it kind of just shifted my mindset. And I was like, you know what, I want to go on something that's going to be a little bit more meaningful, not just doing boob jobs and nose jobs and stuff like that all day. I want to really help people, and that's where the chiropractic part started, be a little bit more holistic. And I always knew that's why I named it integrative chiropractic, because I wanted that fully integrative clinic. So then that's why when I opened that one, ran that one from 2014 to 2018, and that's when I opened our first anti-aging hormone clinic and ran both of them at the same time for 2 years. And then my brother followed in my footsteps, went to chiropractic school also, and I gave him the business in 2020 and just went full-fledged into, the anti-aging hormone business with my father. He's just kind of in the background. He's the MD, signs all the prescriptions, things like that. And it just took off from there. And then I was like, got this one pretty stable in Alabama. Hired my best friend, Joey. He's now literally, it's funny. I met him at the gym. This kid was, 21 years old, washing dogs and getting tips at the country club, like cleaning golf clubs and stuff for millionaires, And,
in Alabama?
Yeah, I was paying him. I brought him on, stuck him in an office with a stack of files this tall, and just said, hey, start calling people, cold calls. Didn't tell him anything, just like, let's see what you could do.
Yeah.
Because he kept begging me for a job. He was making I think I offered him $785 every 2 weeks was his first job with me. Basically nothing, you know what I mean? But he was making like 600 and something at his other job. I'm like, look, I'll pay you $100 more every 2 weeks. That's $200 more a month, and we'll go up from there. Just prove yourself to me. He runs my whole multi-million-dollar clinic back in Alabama now, like head to toe. I don't do anything.
Right.
I answer the phone a couple times a week. He asks me a few just obviously executive questions. Hey, we need to do this and or that. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. That's it. He's going to be moving down here in the summer. We're going to do the same thing and keep replicating.
Nice.
But yeah, that's kind of how that got started.
He's earned that.
Yeah, exactly. He earned it. And
sweat equity and just made it work.
Oh, exactly. I mean, he bought himself a brand new Corvette this year. I mean, he's hustling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From $785 every 2 weeks with no car at all, living in a shit apartment to whatever he wants to do now. You know what I mean?
Right.
making multi, I guess, six figures now if he wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's just going to keep growing with me because I'm just keep bringing him up because he's I could trust him.
Yeah, that's key, man.
Yeah.
That's key because usually they'll say don't go into business with your family, with your friends, but it looks like you've done both.
Well, like you said, it's a little unique because I met him at the gym. He wasn't really my friend, and we almost became friends, but it was like just more of acquaintances. And I'm like, hey, all right, I'll give you this chance. And then obviously that developed into the friendship with the business. And he's really, I don't even see him. Yeah, he's like my brother, man. He's literally like my brother, but I would trust him with my life. I mean,
super cool.
I mean, I could say, hey, Joey, go get out this much money from the bank or whatever. He would go get the cash. I'd be like, hey, hold on to it for 6 months. He'd bring it to me in 6 months, and then every dollar would be there. You know what I mean? I would trust him with my life. So that you don't find that in life much.
No,
my father always told me, he said, you'll be lucky to get 2 true friends, and they're going to be like your brothers your whole entire life. and people don't realize that. You know, what I mean, you got all kinds of acquaintances, people that they call your friends. They're not really your friends. They're not going to actually do something for you. I could hit Joey up right now, and be like, hey, man, I need you to come to Miami. He'd be like, I'll be there in 12 hours. He'll get in his car and just leave. You know what I mean? Same for me. Hey, I need you. All right, bro, I'm coming home right now. Next flight.
But that also, just how he earned his way with you, that comes from his point of view. You are his mentor. You're his big brother. So he's like, that respect, man, it's unbreakable.
Yeah.
You know
and that's exactly. But I respect him. You got to think
right.
We teach each other stuff. That's the different dynamic of like, don't do business with your friends or your family. It's like we keep. It's a little different mindset, a little different, relationship. And we both know that. You know what I mean? We communicate it probably because most people in life too, us as men, we don't communicate well. Just like especially that's most problems with relationships nowadays. Most men and women don't last together because us men, in this culture, we're told to just shut up, keep our head down, hustle and provide and not say anything. I mean, I agree with that to an extent as being, like I said, a masculine man, but at the same time, with your real boys, like you have to communicate. You know what I mean? You want good business, you want good real relationships, you got to communicate.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
And you got to establish proper boundaries from the beginning, man.
Exactly.
And that's part of communication, part of expectation, accountability, and making sure that everybody that's around you is a representation of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to understand who you keep around and who
That's why I said like two friends. My circle's really small.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? You got to keep it that way.
For sure. Absolutely. So you came here to Miami. So here in Miami, obviously it's a total different culture than Alabama, like you were saying, because
right.
Alabama's very different.
Yeah, I think we got a little off track. We can kind of circle back.
No, but it's I think that's the important thing about this podcast, that people can see that is like two human beings having a conversation.
Yeah, we're jumping around, but there's a huge big story that puts the whole thing together all the way from me high school to now, that literally if you don't get the whole thing, you don't fully understand why I am who I am, but at the same time, we can kind of hop around and get to that end point still.
And there's no right way or wrong way. But I definitely want to see, like, for example, from being where you are now, where you were there, now you're here in Miami. How do you see your business growing now that you're here?
Yeah, exactly. So, when I was there, it was like, small town mentality. Right. People that had money like I have now are all just old money. People that had Ferraris, they had Lamborghinis, big houses, but in Alabama, it's different. Like you said, these are guys that it was generational wealth passed down and, businesses passed down from father to son that they continued to run. And so it's a little different than, that's what I love about Miami. You come down here and you got guys like my neighbor at my condo I live in. The kid's 21 years old, just turned 21. Pulls up, I'm like, bro, you got a McLaren 720. He just got a Huracan Lamborghini. I'm like, dude, what the hell do you do? You're 21. I'm like, I wish I had been down here, 10 years ago, and who knows where I'd be. I mean, I'd have 3 jets and 4 fucking yachts and, 6 or 7 homes, I mean, because I'm like, how are these kids making this much money? But it's crazy. It's the entrepreneur mindset down here. It's the networking. It's the mecca, in my opinion, of the financial world becoming bigger and bigger. I mean, when I moved down here, the biggest thing was my networking. I mean, the first 6 months I was here, started doing some car rentals with a guy that I mentioned earlier that kind of became my mentor. I mean, he helped me. I got my first Lamborghini Urus to rent out. I bought a Bentley Bentayga, both 2022s, almost brand new, made some money there. But the biggest thing was, again, he was into branding. He's like, look, we get these 2 cars, we pump up your social medias, we start branding who you are. I'll help you. I got 1 million followers. We're going to post you on my page because obviously you're paying me for this and that. And like I said, he kind of put me on the map originally, and I was like, okay, now I see how the system really works if you want to be successful. So that's when I was like, okay, branding, for my personal self, but still focus still 100% on my businesses and growing those. But then when you network and you create your network, that's what your net worth is going to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just started, I was obviously a social person. I love talking to everybody. So it was just like, dude, every time I met someone, asked what they did, even if they weren't necessarily fully important and didn't make millions of dollars, I put them on my phone, put what they did. So again, now I've got this huge network. Anytime I need something, I can reach out to them. Or when I do my mentorships, oh, hey, this guy needs this, perfect. Go on my phone, here you go, bro. Contact this guy, he'll take care of you. And it's like, if you do that, you can't lose in Miami because everybody here does something. They're good at something. You need a loan, you need your credit fixed, whatever it might be. I didn't even know that shit existed. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, hey, I mean, I had money when I moved down, But at the same time, it was like, I never bought anything on credit, didn't have much credit. I mean, my credit score was 800, but it was like I didn't have a long history. And you're like, okay, I got approved. I could get like a couple $1 million house, whatever. But it's like when it came to these supercars, I wanted to get 4 or 5 of them. It was like some of these banks wouldn't approve me or give me a loan if I wanted to open another clinic. Like, hey, I need $1 million for a clinic. Like, I'd have trouble getting approved just because I didn't have any history. They saw everything. They'd even see my bank statements of what I'm making in the business now. But a lot of times still, that's not enough with the banks nowadays. So it's like, you get connections to these guys. You can buy these old accounts. They can connect them to yours and show a history. And then boom, next thing you know, you're like, oh, I just got approved for $2 million. So it's like in Miami, it's different, bro.
Yeah.
It's a different world. That's what I had no idea that any of that existed. So once I got down here, I was like, dude, the sky's the limit now. And I think that's why these young kids are successful quickly, because they're just getting tapped into all these resources to get their hands on that if I had known about when I was early 20s, there's no telling what I could do. You know what I mean?
But what I've seen too on hindsight, looking at when people are getting too much without the experience too, they kind of also flatline.
Yeah, they do. I mean, the guys, a lot of the guys that grow quick, like you said, they don't have a mentor that's wise, someone who's been through a lot of the stuff. And they get the money quick and they blow it quick. They're going out to the clubs down here and dropping, $20K at a bottle service in one night. And I'm like, to them, that's still nothing. But I'm just like, why? Why not? $20K every weekend for a year. I'm like, look how much money you just blew that you could have put into some of the equity. You could have went out and bought 3 properties down payments and then collecting passive income, or something like that. So a lot of them they'll get their fame for a year and then they'll flatline out or crash or plateau and they can't really get any further. So when it comes to scaling, you definitely have to have a plan. In my opinion, the biggest thing in my business is it's like, or really any business, you got to have your foundation first. Then you have to develop bulletproof systems that other people can copy and follow, even just your employees, like obviously exactly protocols, how they do things. And then that's when you take that system and you just scale it. You just replicate it at that point. But if you don't have the foundation and the systems first and the protocols in place, you can't scale anything. Of course. It doesn't matter what business it is. So that, to me, that's the ticket and the key.
Because even in a franchise, you're trying to sell a franchise, the whole thing is a system turnkey.
Exactly.
You got to be able to follow the system.
Exactly. Like for mine, when I hand it over, it's like, okay, here you go. Boom. Here's all the logos. Here's all the protocols for the employees. Here's your handbooks. Here's everything you're going to need. Literally, I could just hand you all this. I could walk away and you'd be able to run the business pretty efficiently if you knew nothing about it. That's what you have to have. If you have that, you're golden. If you don't have that, your business is not going to be scalable.
You're also doing mentorships, business coaching as well, too?
Yeah, so, obviously, kind of like you said, a lot of these guys down here that I've seen in Miami, they do it backwards, too. You know what I mean? They do 4 or 5 different things, and they're selling these mentorships, even if they're only $2,000, whatever it is, but they've never really built a business, a brick and mortar. They've done digital stuff, but in my opinion, it's not really running a business. You're not going to get the true experience and the wisdom that you need to really be a mentor if you haven't done those things in real life. So, I'm going to start doing that because obviously running multi-million-dollar businesses, I think VitalMed is like my 4th business. All of mine have been successful. They haven't all made millions of dollars, but I even have my own supplement company with 32 different supplements, from protein, pre-workouts, liver support, kidney support, stuff for your cortisol levels, more medical grade supplements, and we sell them in the clinics. But I really launched that, and I was doing them online, but I was just like, this isn't the direction I want to go, so I pulled back on that. So, I could say that's a failed business, but it was just something that I was like, okay, let's try this, but it works better just putting them inside the clinics, and we sell those products with the programs. So, again, same thing. You live and you learn. You got to find where the puzzle pieces fit together. And I was like, okay, well, these supplements still have their place, but I don't want to have a whole nother business where I'm just selling them online like a supplement company because they're more medical. Let's just put them inside the clinics, and when people come in and get their blood work done and they see their levels are low, boom, okay, your kidney levels are low. Here you go. Here's your kidney product. Oh, your liver enzymes are up. Here's your liver product. Oh, you want to put some muscle on? Okay, we're going to give you your peptides and HRT. You need to take our protein with it. So it's more, medically recommended, and then people don't even bat an eye and they buy it. So you can make, money on that. Yeah. Like my first year I did that, I made over $200,000 just selling supplements in one clinic. So you're like, hey, that's not bad. It's not millions of dollars, but it's just an add-on service that's easy. It takes no money out of my pocket. I'm not having to market, advertise it. We just stick them in the clinic and they sell themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
makes sense.
sometimes it's about creating things that realistically will make you passive money with no extra work. So I found the place for those, you know what I mean? Because at first I was like, okay, I love bodybuilding. Let's make a supplement line and really just push it hard and try to be number one. It's like, well, if I want to focus on the hormone clinics, it's hard to do both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of try to stay. That's another thing I'll tell people out there. It's like, you know, a lot of these entrepreneurs will tell you, let's do, you know, yeah, you need passive income and you need to do 4 or 5 different businesses so you're always having income streams and things come in. I don't think that's true. And I think most of the guys that are really successful will agree that you get really good at one thing. Like you said, you scale that business. And then let's say you've made $10 million out of that one business. Okay, you want to invest in other things. That's great. You've got that business pretty much running itself. Then you can take, say, $1 million or $500,000 or whatever it might be based on where you are in your journey, and invest that into starting something new. But a lot of these guys spread themselves too thin, and then, like I said, they crash out doing that too.
Yeah.
Because you can only focus on so much.
Yeah, and sometimes spread yourself too thin without finishing the first.
Exactly.
Now you're like giving 20% here, 15% there. How are you going to
Exactly.
compete
You're
with
splitting
somebody?
your focus too much, and then, like you said, you can't really be successful.
And then you got another guy putting 100% into the same product and competing with you. Who you think is going to win? You know?
Exactly. That's why like Vital Med works well with my system, because it's still in my niche. It's like, okay, you know, I've got my hormone clinics, but it's like, okay, well, I sell my peptides in my hormone clinics like the supplements, but this business is a little different. It's like, okay, we can go online with this. We can wholesale to other clinics. There's multiple avenues you can take this one product to and make money, and it doesn't necessarily split your focus too much because it's still all in that realm of my hormone clinic, because I just hire guys to go, hey, okay, you're going to deliver peptides here. Hey, you run the online website, and hey, okay, you call 40 different clinics this week and try to get us wholesale accounts. So you can, you know, again, delegating is going to be a huge thing in making your business successful too. If you're not delegating things out, you're going to obviously not do well either. Yeah. But again, you got to get to that point where you can pay people to delegate, you know.
Yeah. And know that you can't do everything. I remember when I went to...
I'm OCD, man. I love to do everything myself, and I've had to... That's the hardest thing I battle with is control.
Yeah, man. You know? When I went to a Tony Robbins business mastery seminar a few years ago, and one of the first things that... Well, one of the biggest takeaways was like, look, in the beginning, as an entrepreneur, if you don't have the money to pay people and delegate, you're going to try to do everything at once yourself, and you're going to be a perfectionist. You want to do it yourself. But then eventually, as you grow, you got to let go control a little bit and know how to hire and know how to delegate. So they said you're either the talent, you're the entrepreneur, or the manager. Figure out which one you are. Yeah, you could do all three, but there's one that you're more of, and you got to hire the rest. Because other than that, you're going to be running in circles. So
exactly, because if I'm still doing Joey's job on top of my job being outside the business, the guy that runs the clinic for me, it's like, what's the point of that?
Right.
Now I'm spreading myself too thin. I'm spending 4 hours a day talking to him when he just needs to handle it, not worry about it, when I'm over here trying to scale, you know.
Yeah, and you know, just taking action, man, and being able to do that.
Yep.
What is your daily routine look like right now?
So, you know, obviously it changed a lot when I moved down here because I got out of the business. When I was in Alabama, I was really running the clinic from inside of it, and that was the goal of, obviously, hey, the only way I'm going to really be able to scale and expand now that we have all the structures and systems in place is, all right, Joey's going to run the clinic like what I was doing, and then, okay, when I moved down here, I've got the freedom to work from my phone, like you said, meet people, create the network to be able to scale. So, yeah, I mean, I've been down here about 2 years. Honestly, you know, I'm a pretty regimented person. So, I mean, I would say, you know, I wake up every morning about 8:30, 9 a.m. You know, maybe one day, I tell most guys, look, take your one day a week to kind of reset. You know, let's say that's usually Sunday for me because, again, I grew up in a Christian home.
Yeah.
So, you know, Sunday's God's day. I try not to really do too much work. And I'm not telling anybody they can't work and do things on Sunday because I still do, but it's like I'm more relaxed. I kind of let my brain calm down and just kind of push everything out and chill. So if I want to wake up at 10 or 11 o'clock on like Sunday, I just, you know, I'll let my body do what it wants to do. If it needs to sleep till 2 p.m. and I've ran it hard for the last 4 or 5 weeks with no days off at all, then I'll do that. But yeah, during the week, get up about 9 a.m. Usually I'll do about 20 minutes of cardio. If I'm not doing my cardio on the back deck, like in the sun, I'll sit on the back deck, obviously kind of check my emails, get ready for the day. You know, make a few basic phone calls, just make sure everything's set up, structures are right for the week. And then, I've been like to go to the gym later in the day. Usually I've been going around 6:30. So yeah, I'll just get most of my work done throughout the middle of the day. So yeah, like I said, most of that nowadays is just phone calls, emails, meetings, which is really annoying. I actually like being in a clinic helping people because that's why I got into it. But I've learned, obviously, like I said, as an entrepreneur, that's not really plausible when you're the guy outside trying to scale and grow. So like right now, I'm working a couple different deals. So yesterday I had phone meetings from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I went to the gym at 7 o'clock. So, but that's the normal schedule. Wake up, hit a little cardio to kind of get my body going, take my protein shake in, sit on the deck, do my emails, get out in the sun. Obviously, you want to get your vitamin D, just feel good. That's why I moved to Florida too. I love the sun. Gets cold in Alabama. I hate the damn cold. Unless I'm going to Colorado to go skiing for a few days. I mean, I like to be able to just wear minimal clothes, I mean, I mainly just wear T-shirts and gym clothes everywhere. Even my business meetings, man, most of them. I mean, who's to say you got to look super good and dress up in a suit nowadays? I mean, it's the 21st century, 2025.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your reputation speaks for itself. Even nowadays, like Instagrams, your resume, all these guys that really are big. I mean, I can pull up in just a company T-shirt, some stretchy slacks, and even some just loafers, and I can close any deal. That doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's the entrepreneur.
Exactly.
In us. Same thing. I don't remember the last time I had to wear a suit for anything that I had to. So it's choice.
Exactly.
With that freedom, I don't think there's any price to pay for that freedom.
Oh yeah, and one of my boys taught me that. He's like, look, your reputation's going to speak for itself.
Yeah.
Your track record. If whoever you're going to meet with did their homework on you, he said, show up in whatever the hell you want. He's like, he'll go to some business meetings, they'll lose his luggage, and he'll show up in, New Balance tennis shoes, some running shorts, and a tank top, and close a $5 million deal in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's how you speak too. You know what I mean? And again, that alpha, that presence you put off, and how you hold yourself and carry yourself too.
Yeah, I think it's the power of confidence, the power of understanding your worth, but not just because delusional part, because there's a lot of that too.
Oh yeah,
but from experience,
it's
and
experience.
From earned,
Exactly.
You can't fake that.
Yeah, my boy that taught me all that, he's worth $500 million. You know what I mean? He's going for $1 billion by the end of this year. So I mean, his net worth is way up there, and he's like, dude, he said every deal I close, I wear skinny jeans and a T-shirt. He said, I've never worn anything else. And he said, no one's ever said anything to me. They respect me, and
they're not
I carry myself a certain way. And even if they do think it in their mind, when we get done with the meeting, they're usually so blown away that they're impressed by the P&Ls and everything else I just presented to them to the deal. They don't give a shit what I'm wearing.
Yep.
They're like, we want to do business with this man because he's going to make us money. And at the end of the day, as we all know as men, most guys, it's like, we just want to make money. We want to build. Men are built to build empires. And, when you meet with other men, it's just kind of one of those things. Absolutely. You're going to connect, and you just know. It's like, I don't care what you're wearing, bro.
I mean, it's create profit, impact. How can we impact, make things better, make profit, make our, our investment and our time, energy make sense.
Exactly.
And,
like you said, if I'm going to meet with some Wall Street guys and I got some huge $300 million valuation to sell my business once there's 20 locations or something like that, I mean, if that's what they're wearing, I might wear a suit just because they're wearing a suit. But most of the time, that's not really going to be needed in any of your day-to-day business deals. Because I mean, like I met a guy. This is Miami for you. One of my buddies. He sold one of his businesses for over $100 million. He invited me to a dinner on his yacht. Bunch of big guys. Can't really say their names, but yeah, went on there, met this guy. Not really a huge dude, but we're talking. He's making multi-7 figures a year, so he's not a small dude. He's making $5-10 million a year. Met him, just shook his hands, told him what I did. He's in similar realm. Didn't think anything about it. Just exchanged info. He hits me up. And this was about 6 months ago on the boat. He hit me up 2-3 weeks ago. Said, hey, I got some deals for you. Let's talk. We had 2 or 3 meetings. I mean, we're looking at potentially, if it goes through for them, putting my peptides in 1,000 clinics across the U.S. Now again, I'm not going to hold my breath on that deal, but it's something that's just like, hey, I shook a hand and met someone. Yeah. They called me, said, hey, we don't know too many people in the peptide industry. We're doing a deal with our diabetic infusions, and these clinics want to add in some other services with it, and your model fits their need, would you be willing to, provide them with your peptides? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not, And so, you're going to sit on that. I mean, it could take a year before that's done, but if it goes through, it's like, hell, that's 1,000 clinics. You do the math. Let's say just $10,000 order is going to be a basic order to start. I mean, we're talking, $5-10 million your first year netting just off of a deal like that. You know what I mean? In your pocket after taxes, everything. I mean, but again, that's where your network is your net worth. You always got to be trying to meet people if you want to grow and scale. And that's why I love Miami. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had multiple instances like that. You know what I mean? I will say, like in Miami and places like this, like you said, what you drive and things like that do get you into rooms. Like that first Lamborghini Blue Urus I got, it put me on the map. People saw that car, they loved it. I was a doctor. I looked different. I got my tattoos, shaved head, big muscle guy. I just made an impact, and it put me in rooms with a lot of guys I would have never gotten to get into a room with without that car. I don't like to say it like that because obviously I like to say, hey, yeah, I could have gotten in that room myself. But honestly, realistically, down here in Miami, those things help tremendously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is a superficial world. Down here, everybody's like, oh, let's wear the watches and the Gucci shoes. And, I mean, none of that stuff really matters too much to me, but it is it's a visual world down here where everyone buys with their eyes, just like sex sells, you know what I mean? Yeah. So when it comes to men, it's like, oh, that dude's got a really nice car. Oh, he's a doctor. We might want to do business with him. Bring him in here. We just want to meet him, see who he is. They're just curious, you know what I mean? So just those type things can, spark interest and get you a big deal in your business. So
no, absolutely. And genuinely, like, thanks to my boy Armin too, he put us in contact. Exactly. And I was like, I would definitely love to have a conversation with you and get to meet you, because I've seen you, I've seen you in the gym. As I see everybody, my self-awareness is pretty good. I tend to like want to know at least who's who and what's what.
Exactly.
Just for my own surroundings, you know what I'm saying? Not just because I'm like, oh, let me see who. Not necessarily, I'm not a big talker.
Right.
I'm not, I'm kind of like...
I keep to myself most of the time. I like to talk to people, but it's usually for education purposes or I like to help people. That's my biggest thing.
No, I'm in the same boat. Let's just say I don't like to do a lot of small talk. So
exactly. Yeah, I hate the small talk.
Yeah.
But if you want to come up to me, hey, man, I'm struggling with this, or I'm having trouble waking up in the morning, whatever it might be, most people come to me with doctor questions. I'm like, I'll sit here for 20 minutes and tell you what to do.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Because that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
God put me here to make a difference in people's lives, change people's lives. And if I can help someone, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, give me some money and then I'll tell you. It's like, no, dude. I mean, because I've done that multiple times where it's like I'll help someone out. And like I said, they bring me some huge deal. One of my buddies, I helped him out just with something tiny. He brings me this wholesale deal and I'm making, tons of money off of a clinic a month. So it's like you just don't know the impact you're having on people sometimes. When you just shake their hand or you're nice to them. So, I mean, it's like, that's just what I was always taught anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Treat the janitor like the CEO, bro.
100%,
you know what I mean? And that's just what I live off of.
100%.
And people see that too. That's where you get your good reputation. Because as we know in Miami, there's not many of those people around. I'm from Alabama, so
you mean what you say. You say what you mean, and you walk with confidence and respect.
Exactly.
So, like in my business, for example, like going back to what I wanted to talk to you about was like, okay, cool. You have a presence about you. I even thought you were Russian in the beginning. I was like, oh, you look like a Russian guy. Like, he's interesting.
Some people do think I'm Russian because it's the melanotan too, the peptide. Like, I really don't even get out in the sun that much. I'll just take that peptide and it tans my skin. But I'm actually German and I got Cherokee Indian in me, so I kind of keep that reddish hue to my skin. But yeah, a lot of people think I'm Russian a little bit. Yeah, and it's other than the southern accent, but it is the way I talk probably a little bit.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, man. It's very interesting. And being here for a while, I've seen a lot of trends. I've seen a lot of things, but even in my own business, and I have a few. One of my businesses is a tattoo company. So we've serviced over 165,000 people.
Right.
5 stars rated. It's a lot of work.
I need some new tattoos. I was actually looking for someone the other day. So yeah.
This is probably gonna drop later, but definitely we're doing the one of the grand openings from being there for 16 years in South Beach. So
I think I saw that. Yeah, I think Armin sent it to me and said, "Is it this Saturday?"
It's this Sunday.
Or Sunday, okay. Are y'all tattooing there or just hanging out?
Yeah, no. My guys are tattooing, but I'm just, saying what's up to the public again. You know what I mean?
So I might maybe before we leave,
Stop it, man.
Before we leave, maybe we can set me up a session while I'm there.
Yeah, and, for sure.
Finish out this whole neck piece and stuff.
Yeah. So what do you got? When did you got your first tattoo, man?
Dude, my first tattoo is actually on my calf. I was 16 years old. It's funny, the guy who tattooed me, my dad knew because he was a patient, came in and I got my tattoo done, went home. Obviously, I had to hide it. I mean, my parents were completely against earrings, tattoos.
Right.
Super strict, like I said, very religious. I mean, my granddad, the whole time I was alive before he passed away, never heard him say a cuss word or anything. My dad was like, yep, your granddad's never cussed a day in his life. He's never drank a sip of alcohol. He's never touched a drug. That straight laced. So that's where my dad gets some of that. And obviously, he was in World War II. He worked on the airplane radios. He got liver cancer.
Your grandpa.
Yeah, he got liver cancer from that. My dad actually, I don't think we discussed it beforehand. My dad got lymphoma. Luckily he beat it. But yeah, I was 17 years old. I thought I was going to have to be the man of the house. So, that really wised me up a lot, and I matured really quickly at 17. Obviously, your father laying on the couch, shriveled up to 125 pounds, no hair, no eyebrows, no nothing. Looks like he's about to die from chemo and radiation, and again, he's a military man. I'm seeing him super tough to that, just frail and, just thump him and he pretty much break a bone. That shit was scary. You know what I mean?
That's an eye opener, huh?
Yeah. And then his brother, which was my uncle, which I was honestly, closer with him than I was my dad for a long time, just because my dad was so militaristic and, just thought he was tough love for me as a kid. I resented him a lot because of that. And he was never around as a doctor. He was always at work. So I was pretty much raised by my mom. So again, when I was younger, I was, like you said, we talked about earlier, I was a little bit more emotional. But I think for me, like I said, I wouldn't go back changing that because that's what kind of made me, like we talked about, that masculine man. You know what I mean? I have that soft side I can bring out when I need to, but I know how to be the fucking alpha if I need to too.
Yeah.
So I got the best of both worlds. He showed me that tough love. So now that I'm older, I see why he did it. But yeah, my dad's brother got leukemia. That's one that tore me up, man. I'm not even an emotional guy. I never cried. I mean, my uncle, he passed away from that. They did the transfusion and the transplant, the bone marrow and all that, and he got an infection and it killed him at 54. Because I worked for him for a long time when I was younger, like 15, 16. He did. My granddad owned, sounds great, car stereo shop. Back in Alabama, there was nothing. He was like the first car stereo shop way back then. We're talking like
I did that for a while.
Like the 50s, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so back in the day.
Like my dad's brother took that over from my granddad, and so I worked for him. I installed car stereos. We would go to all the Head Start haircut places. Most people probably don't even know what that is now. They don't even have them, but they're just the commercial places, and we installed the surround sound speakers and all that, and
that's pretty cool.
So I was always really close with him, and he was always my dad was the sports guy. My uncle was more like me. I was saying he was the gearhead. You know what I mean? I always had the old school Challengers, the fast boats and shit. So me and him always bonded really good. I remember the first time I went out and my dad bought me a car, one of the first cars, and helped me get it. I wanted a motorcycle. They wouldn't let me. I got the title, sold the car, went out and bought a motorcycle without telling them. Brought it home.
I'm sure he wasn't happy about that.
Oh, that was a bad day, I'll tell you that much. But then, I got another one shortly after that. It really made me take it back. It was hilarious. And then I got one a year later anyway. But then I totaled that one going like 140 up a hill doing wheelies into a guardrail. I was like, shit, I can't call my parents. They're going to just have I told you so. So my uncle, he was cool. He came out with his trailer. We put it on the trailer. I didn't go to the hospital. I needed to.
I was going to say, you didn't get hurt off of that?
I got a concussion, road rash. I had all my gear on, but it ate through it at that speed. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, he pretty much just hit it and took care of me. So, like, my uncle was always, like, real close to my heart, super cool dude. He understood the dynamic of, like, my dad being in the military. Because my granddad, or my uncle didn't go in the military. You know what I mean? He pretty much just took over the family business for my granddad. But yeah, that's a little backstory there on stuff too.
But now going back, I know you say you resented your dad, but at the end of the day, the importance of like just a tough father figure in the house is so needed nowadays. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And I respect the hell out of him now. That's the thing. Like, I hated him for so many years because I just didn't see why he was treating me that way.
Right.
Because, again, I guess, that was just his way of doing it. He didn't want to explain it. He wanted me to figure everything out on my own. So like I said, looking back now, it's like, I wouldn't change anything. If I could go back in time, I'd say, hey, Dad, keep doing the same shit you're doing to me. Beat my ass every time I do something wrong. You know, whatever you got to do, just make me tough as fucking nails, but also very respectful. You know, do things the right way, honor, loyalty, respect. And we don't have enough of that in this world now.
Yeah, because if you really look at it like to the core, like a parent's job.
Oh, nowadays I tell people how my parents were, and they're like, your parents were abusive. I'm like, no, they weren't. I said, that's just, you know, it's like a dog. You got to train your dog. If your dog snips at you stuff when you feed him, what do? You spank the shit out of them. You train them it's not okay because they don't know any better. You teach them. Same thing. You know what I mean? They don't want to sit down. They want to shit on the floor. Whatever they're doing that's bad, what do? You spank them, you correct them, and then they learn. It's the same thing with humans. People nowadays, they don't want to do anything. It's like, oh, just, you know, da-da-da. I'm like, dude, no, beat the shit out of your kid to a certain extent till they learn. Otherwise, they're not going to learn. They're not going to respect you, and they're always going to do what they want.
And not only that, but if you don't do that, eventually it might get to the point where you have to put them to sleep. Because if they do something fucked up.
Exactly.
So in essence.
Well, and that's how the kids are nowadays. Like you said, the parents aren't raising them right. They go out, they shoot some other kid, or they get, just whatever it might be. It's like, and then they're like, oh, my son. I'm like, you caused this. You didn't.
Right. Or your lack of action caused this.
Exactly. Your lack of action. You didn't raise your kid right. So now look where he is. He got in with the wrong group. You know, they had an influence on him because you didn't intervene and stop him. That's your fault. You know what I mean? But they don't want to, that's the problem. They don't want to take responsibility. I try to take responsibility for everything that I do. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean?
That's the man's way.
And it sucks sometimes. You're like, shit, I wish that hadn't happened. Or I wish I didn't do that. Be like, damn, all right, you just got to go through it, you know?
But that right there goes back to why you look at, instead of a loss, you look at it as a lesson.
Exactly.
Because if you didn't take full responsibility, you would want to push it
off.
Somebody.
Exactly.
So,
and two, that's what people understand. It's like when you push that off, how do you're sabotaging yourself at that point.
Yeah.
When you do something and then you push it off instead of accepting that it was your responsibility and your fault and then learning from it and growing, that's where, like you said, you flatline yourself and you've now just completely sabotaged your growth as a man, and everything's going to halt. You're not going to get any wiser. You're not getting any smarter. In my opinion, I don't think that God is going to bring you more opportunities because you're not even nurturing the ones that He already gave you.
Right.
In my opinion, it's like, you know, you ask for strength. What do you think He's going to do? He's going to give you a bunch of challenges to make you stronger.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you don't have those trials, tribulations, things like that, I mean, you ask for wisdom. What do you think He's going to do? He's going to send you some stuff that's going to make you think a lot deeper, get you into some kind of shit you got to get out of so you get the wisdom. He's going to send those things towards you because you're not just going to magically wake up and have it, you know. Like, I'm not just going to wake up and go, oh, I know how to make $100 million today, and I only made $10 million this year. I'm going to jump from 10 to 100 just like an epiphany. It's not how it works.
No.
People think it does, but that's not how it works.
No.
You know.
It's not. You got to get more perspective, know when to humble down, understand like your value. Grow.
That's the whole point of having mentors. It's like, oh, let's say I make $10 million a year and I want to get to $100 million. Well, I'm going to get a mentor that makes $100 million, and all the mistakes he made to get there, he's going to show me those in a very fast track, much quicker way. And I might get from 10 to 100 in 2 years instead of 10 and cut off 8 years because I listened to everything he had to say.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And then you'll have a lot of people who will say something like, don't listen to them. They don't know, while they don't really they haven't done anything in the world. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Oh yeah.
So
that's a big lesson I've learned is, you know, unless you're above me, I don't listen to anything you say.
Because you can't.
And when it comes to relationships, friendships, I don't listen to anyone else. You always go to the source. If you have a problem with somebody, something's wrong, no matter what it is, you never go ask for someone else's advice. You go to the source. Like if my problem is with you, I'm not going to go talk to my best friend, tell him the scenario, what happened, and let me give him advice on what to do, because he's not directly in the situation. That's a third party. It's like, I should just come to you as a man and say, hey, bro, here's what happened between us. I don't like this, and this about it. How do we fix it? Or whatever the case may be, then we communicate as men and we solve our problems. Absolutely. If you do that, there's a lot less bullshit in between. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
And no one does that these days. You know what I mean? That's one of the big problems. That's what I do in my business, friendships, relationships. No matter what it is, always go to the source, and it's going to get resolved 10 times faster with a lot less collateral damage. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because it impedes things later on. Like, well, let's say, for instance, you know, I got some kind of beef with you, and I go out with friends and I meet some new person. And let's say I didn't know, but they knew you, and I'm sitting here not necessarily talking shit, but I explain the situation to the group or something. You know what I mean? But it's just a miscommunication between us. You know what I mean? But then maybe it never gets resolved, or I don't come back to you. Well, now that guy is thinking that particular situation, what I told him about what happened between us, and it's not even close to the truth. And so maybe he wants to do business. He's got something for me. He's not going to come to me now because his whole perception of me is now, well, this guy, instead of going to you and handling it like a man, he was just talking about gossiping, whatever it might be, as a group. You know, I hate calling it that. It sounds like a bunch of little girls, but a lot of men still do that shit nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, go handle your problems head on, no matter what it is. Even if it's not a person, you know, you just got to handle it head on. That's the big issue.
I agree, man. What would you say is the biggest challenge you ever had to face?
The biggest challenge?
And how did you overcome?
Dude, honestly, probably my strokes and pretty much dying twice. You know, I don't talk much about that.
What was that about?
And that's what actually got me into, you know, the chiropractic school and the hormones. We didn't really touch on that too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually in chiropractic school, actually going to take my boards. Dude, this shit still gives me PTSD to this day. So, you know, just obviously, you know, if we're being candid, obviously, you know, taking anabolic steroids, getting bigger at the time, being dumb, not getting my blood work done properly, studying for boards, staying up all night, caffeine at the gym, you know, back in the day when they had the Jack 3D, all the shit with amphetamines, taking Adderall because I'm up 4 or 5 days in a row. And, you know, my blood pressure just got way too high, and I had an ischemic stroke. And on my thalamus, which most people don't know what that is, just kind of part of the brainstem that's going to regulate a lot of different things, emotions, memory, things like that, word recall, you know, even facial expressions. Most people don't know I've ever had a stroke, but people who really know me and I've told them, they can tell. Like, even when I talk, most people don't see that I'll talk a little bit more out of maybe one side of my mouth than the other. It's because I have, you know, I got damaged my whole motor system on my brain. So there's certain small tales that if you're a doctor, you could probably figure it out. But when that happened, I mean, and again, I'm stupid. I was younger, but, you know, I was taking boards. Like, obviously, if you walk out of boards, you got to retake them again. You got to wait. So, you know, I had a stroke in the morning. Didn't really know exactly that's what it was, but I knew, like, the whole right side of my body went numb. Went and took my test and then drove myself to the hospital. Yeah, whole right side of my body was numb. Couldn't feel anything. You know, I'm getting anxiety. Just sitting here talking about shit was just scary. I mean, if you don't go through something like that, you can't experience. So I still get, you know, for years after it even happened, I'd wake up with phantom pains. You know, think my arm's going numb. Just you know, it's part of you know, the brain being dead and damaged. But I had that one, which was a really massive one on the first one. They sent me home, didn't really give me anything. They said, hey, just go back to your normal routine, take some aspirin. The doctors were obviously, you know, idiots at the time. You know, I was probably one of the youngest people to have strokes ever and survive, I'm assuming, you know. And
how old were you?
26.
26.
And then about a week later, I was in the gym, working out, doing squats, came back home, laid down on my side just to chill and watch TV, and had 3 more what they called mini strokes on my cerebellum, which controls all your motor skills, like your balance, your vision. So I was seeing like triple of everything. Had to obviously go back to the hospital. The only way I could see straight was if I took my hand and pushed it down on my head, and it would actually kind of somehow align my eyes, and I could see straight. So I literally drove to the hospital like this.
Oh shit!
How'd you
figure that out? You just let me see what happens.
I just put my hand on my head. I was like, shit, I got to get to the hospital somehow. I need to get there quick. You know, it's like by the time I call an ambulance, wait and all that, I'm like, the hospital's 5 minutes down the road. I can be there. So I just drove myself, went in. They did it again, and then from there, they weren't really any help. They put me on some blood thinners, things like that, but they didn't have a solution for me. So, you know, that's when I came up with the idea with my dad. I was like, you know what, we're definitely want to do an integrative clinic. I started doing my own research, and that's when I started creating my supplement company before I'd even graduated, and came up with our first product, which was our blood pressure support, because it obviously was my blood pressure. So I created 12 different individual herbs, got them all from the vitamin shop, mixed them together at certain doses, and kind of almost trial on myself. Took a bunch of those. I mean, it's all kinds of different shit, you know, from vasodilators for the old skin, you name it, hawthorn root, all kinds of stuff. But I basically created a combo that worked for me, and I brought my blood pressure down. Obviously did my own kind of physical therapy to kind of get back to normal because they weren't really helping much. So did all that, and then that was kind of where inception of some of this stuff came from. I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to go in the health and wellness world 1,000% because there's just a huge gap in the market for things like that.
No, I mean that's crazy. So
yeah,
are you still suffering from that? Have you had another episode of a stroke
like you
or
said,
anything
every
like
now and then, if I get really stressed out, anxious, I really overwork myself, don't sleep enough. I mean, I'll have symptoms from it. Sometimes they call them TIAs, as like a transient ischemic attack. But it's weird for mine. So it's like I'll check my blood pressure. My blood pressure's perfect now, like 118 over like 60 something, even lower than what's the medical standard. But I'll still have those symptoms. So again, it's just when I get stressed, almost like when you have anxiety, stress, sometimes like, well, shit, I just need to go to the gym and punch something, get my anger out. It's the same situation. It's my body's outward expression of the internal stress. So my brain is damaged. It'll manifest almost stroke-like symptoms for a couple hours or a day. It just depends, and it'll just kind of have to pass through. And that's stuff they don't really tell you about that you just learn on your own.
Of course.
In my opinion, it's not even really in the medical books. They call them TIAs, but in my opinion, not really a TIA because my blood pressure is not going up, which means it's not constricting my vessels to create the ischemic attack again because my blood pressure is perfect. It's almost like the guys that get their arms cut off in the military or IED. They have the phantom pains after, and they think their arm's there, and they have the excruciating pain like it's happening again. It's a similar thing. It's just a trauma response.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I have those every now and then. I had one maybe a week and a half ago. Scared. I was like, shit, I need to check my blood pressure. I hadn't checked a couple weeks. It was perfect.
Right. And when it's good, you can kind of breathe.
Exactly. Yeah. So like you said, I've learned to kind of cope, and now I don't check it as much. But yeah, for a while, I would check that shit twice a day because I was always nervous. I wouldn't leave home without, my blood pressure report subbing. I even kind of would keep a backup of real blood pressure medication and aspirin on me in my car or my gym bag. Just if something was to happen, I can just pop that shit real quick and bring it down. But, I didn't have to do that too often, but just kind of having that security in the back of your mind so I'm not stressed about it.
Of course, and I'm sure that also helps you kind of like level your own self when you're, oh shit, I'm dealing with too much stress. Let me be mindful. Let me, because right?
Yeah, kind of circling back, like I said, that I told you, like every Sunday I kind of take that day for myself. Still work, but it's like I let my body do what it needs to because I'm not like every other person either. I've been through that trauma. It sounds like you're being a pussy, but then I just know myself, and it's like, hey, if I don't give myself that one day, I'll end up crashing out, and I'll have to take 2 or 3 days off, or I won't be as mentally clear. So it's just like, hey, the one day a week, I just kind of let my body kind of de-stress, chill out, and that's all I need. So I've learned my routine that works for me after traumas and damage to my brain like that.
I mean, even God needed a rest day, right?
Exactly.
And we're made in the image, so we got
because as entrepreneurs, they tell you, oh, you got to hustle 24/7, never stop. I'm like, dude, you got to stop telling people that. That's not true. Our bodies don't hold up that way. Being in the medical field, I'm like, your body, they have studies out there. You run like that all the time, you're going to age twice as fast. You're going to die younger. You're going to have more health conditions. It's like you can, if you're truly an entrepreneur in my mind and you're very precise with your moves and how you move throughout the day and how you work, you can get all the shit done you need to get done in 8 hours. You don't even need more than that most of the time. You know what I mean? But again, people, like you said, mess around. They might talk to people they shouldn't talk to. They put their time in other things that they shouldn't. You just have to be really good with time management too.
Absolutely.
I've learned that this year. The bigger I've gotten, the more I'm growing, the more people that want my attention, and the more people I have to just say no to.
Absolutely, yeah, man.
Like people call me and want something little, and I'm the type of guy I love to help people. I'm just like, nah, bro, I can't. I'm sorry, I'm too busy. Don't take offense to it. I got too much going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, something that helps me, and it's, some people think it's cold, but for me, I think it helps a lot is just looking at things like, from an asset and liability standpoint. Very black and white,
Yeah.
I got a big heart, so I got to protect it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's really what it is,
Yeah.
Establishing boundaries. And like, can we do something together? Can I help you be better and you help me? Because everything is give and take, no matter how you look at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a
Everything is
law
give
of
and take.
physics. That's a universal law.
Yeah, yeah.
Every action, there's a reaction. That's
Absolutely.
one thing I teach in my mentor stuff. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter what it is. You do something, there's always a reaction.
Yes.
You have an action, if it's a negative one, there's going to be a consequence to it. You know what I mean? You do something good, there's obviously still a consequence, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
I don't care what it is, there's always an opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You help someone, you give them $100, you're probably going to get tenfold back the next month in some kind of deal. You know, that's not always the case, but in my opinion, that's kind of how the universe works. You know what I mean? You steal some shit from someone. I remember one time I was something so petty, you know what I mean, at the grocery store and, you know, got like drinking a Coke or something or a protein shake walking through the store and didn't pay for it. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's no big deal. It's like $2. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, I lost $400 or $500 out of my wallet. You know, a day later, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you know, it's because I consciously took that drink, just didn't really think much about it. And now God or whoever, if you don't believe in God, the higher ups, whatever it might be, that's that opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah.
But usually it's not equal, it's worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you do
yeah,
something
yeah,
bad,
yeah.
it's going to be something worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the more you know, the harder it's gonna hit you.
Oh, ignorance
You know
is
what I'm
bliss,
saying?
man. That's what I used to say. It's like, man, when I was younger, you're a kid, you don't know much, you got no worries, and obviously the smarter you get, the more things you learn. You're like, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, life's more challenging than people think.
100%, man. 100%. So now, as far as like your view, I'm assuming on longevity has changed a lot throughout the years. Different things that you're getting into. How important is longevity for you? Like, it's just aside from the supplements, what other type of things are important for longevity? Because you've trained people, you know, you're in the whole wellness space.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all goes back to that wellness thing and what I got into. It's the different avenues of what you're doing in your life altogether. You know what I mean? So obviously, yeah, I mean, everyone wants to live forever. Everyone wants to be young. Everyone wants to feel good forever. And there's definitely, in my opinion, there's a template for it. There's a process. You know what I mean? And that's what we do at our clinics. We give every single person that blueprint to be able to do that. You know what I mean? We have what's called our lifestyle sheet. That's one section of it. It's literally 2 pieces of paper that's all exterior stuff to stay away from, like organically, that you, like I was talking about earlier, that you're putting on your body or you're touching every day, you know, that will age you faster, like the shirts you're wearing. Like I use the non-scented Ecos natural detergent, you know what I mean? I don't use anything with the dyes in it, any of that stuff, because obviously it has hormone disruptors, things that cause cancer. Like I said, even the necklaces you're wearing, if you don't know what they're made out of. Like I said, the paper cups or plastic cups you're drinking out of, what you're brushing your teeth with, fluoride, you know, all that shit creates longevity or it shortens your lifespan. You know what I mean? You know, even what you're putting in your body, all your foods, all the processed stuff. People drink the red 40, yellow 5, blue, whatever, all those numbers. People don't realize that each one of those different colors and different numbers has a different effect on your body. You know what I mean? Like even a Gatorade. People think Gatorade's healthy for you. Oh, it's electrolytes. No, it's just sugar water. Even the sugar-free one, you got the red dye in it, you got the blue dye. They did studies like the green, yellow, and blue. They all do different things. Some of them make you depressed. Some of them give you anxiety. Some of them make you psychotic over time. So they all are bad for you. But people don't really know that stuff because they're not in the health profession, and you know they're not talking about that on the news. They don't want you to know that stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like for instance, the big one, the seed oils.
Mm-hmm.
All the seed oils, even the ones you cook with, they cause dementia and they cause type 2 diabetes. You should completely stay away from seed oils. If you were going to change one thing in your diet that everybody's consuming, that's probably the worst thing for you, seed oils.
Yeah.
Seed oils and plastic. That'd be the 2 biggest things that are going to either cause cancer or, you know, just give you dementia and age you really quickly.
Do you see the system changing at all for the better?
I mean, obviously, you know, Trump got back in and RFK and all these guys are saying they're going to, you know, try to do some of that. But, I mean, it's so far gone now, you know, I think it's going to be really hard. I mean, like every cereal brand we have has BHT in it, you know, to preserve the freshness. I mean, that shit literally is like what they put in paint. I mean, it's literally going to cause cancer and kill you. You know what I mean? Half the ingredients in our food nowadays are all banned in other countries like Europe because they know how bad they are. Even the basics like your flour, how they bleach it and, you know, process it before you take it in. That's why everybody has, you know, autoimmune. Autoimmune's massively on the rise. It's because of all that, because of all the gluten. I know it's like, oh, gluten-free this, gluten-free that, but they're pushing that somewhat because people don't realize that it's the flour and the inflammation that it's creating. You know, it's, Because like I said, you can go over to Europe, eat Italian food, pasta, pizza, whatever you want. You're gonna feel amazing all day long. You eat that here, milk products, all that shit, and you feel terrible.
100%. I've been to Italy so many times, and I go there, eat,
because
and
it's
I
made
lose weight.
so much differently. Exactly. You can eat pizza and pasta, and you're not going to gain a pound.
Yeah.
Here, you're going to get massively fat. You're going to swell up. You got inflammation. Your joints hurt because it's creating autoimmune because of the way they're making it. It's just everything is stripped of its nutrients. For instance, all the B vitamins, all the B12 vitamins in every energy drink, most of them all out there, read the back. There's methylcobalamin and cyanocobalamin. Well, cyanocobalamin, it's made from cyanide.
I was going to say,
Number
sounds
one,
like cyanide.
Number one, it's toxic. Number two, your body doesn't really filter it out, so it's there for a really long time. But that's what they put in there because it's very cheap to make. And most people can't break that down and use it anyway. Most people can't methylate their vitamins, and if you can't, and you don't have that gene, you have to get methylated, methylated B12, or you're not even going to use that anyway. So you're just pissing it out anyway. So again, most stuff that people even think are healthy these days, they're not even close, bro. They're still harming you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's crazy.
And it's a simple thing to avoid. You just have to have those lists. That's why we have like our lifestyle list.
Yeah.
You come in, we hone your hormones in, we get your growth hormone right, we make sure your vitamin levels are good, your blood sugar, all your different organ functions, whether it's kidney, liver, all that's good. And then we give you your day-to-day lifestyle sheet, like you said, what you're putting in your body, what you're touching every day, things like that. If you follow those, dude, you're going to add on 10 years to your lifespan.
Yeah, and quality years.
And quality, exactly.
Right.
Like people realize, the receipt paper you get, grocery stores, gas stations, everywhere, that style paper, when they print on that ink, it doesn't have a layer of protection. If you notice they fade really fast, you put them in like your car or something. Well, as soon as you touch that black ink is absorbing through your fingers, massively causes cancer and things like that.
Wow.
So again, there's just so many things you're doing every day you don't even realize, you're not even completely oblivious to, that are obviously just slowly chipping away at your years.
Yeah, because even me, for example, I talk to a lot of people who are health nuts and who are like very health conscious, and there's still always information that you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's so much to learn. So what do you like? How do you shop? How do you eat? Where do you shop?
That's what I was going to get into. So I'll circle back real quick. So like the BPC 157 TB 500 is one of our peptides. I take that every day, no matter what. It's massively incredible for reducing inflammation. It helps your cortisol levels, which is cortisol. If people don't know what that is, it's like your stress hormone. It's directly related to like your weight loss or weight gain too. So like most people don't sleep enough. They have what's called adrenal fatigue. Your adrenal gland controls your cortisol levels and your blood sugar. So like most people don't understand, an easy tall tale sign is like, let's say when you wake up in the morning or even at night, like this is a bright ass LED light in here. Can you look up at that? It hurt your eyes at all? If it hurts your eyes a little bit, you've got usually adrenal fatigue or damage to your adrenal glands, which means your cortisol levels aren't functioning, and you're probably packing on, slow weight, and you're tired in the mornings, things like that. So you have adrenal fatigue. So like there's ways to fix that. The BPC helps with that. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So it's
I think I might have some of that.
They call it BPC 100%. TB. Literally, is called the Wolverine peptide. They call it that for a reason.
I like that.
I mean, it literally makes you invincible. Like I said,
yeah.
I had a quad tear on my leg about 2 years ago. I mean, you heard it rip like Velcro in the gym. Obviously my dad's a doc. He looked at it. We did the MRIs. He's like, yeah, you're going to be out like 3 months from the gym. That shit's going to take a minute to heal. You don't need surgery, but it's like basically if my fingers are like the muscle. I mean, basically it didn't completely tear in half where I need to put it back together, but it was like right on the edge. Pretty bad tear, like stage 2, almost stage 3 kind of tear for putting it in 1, 2, 3s. Took the BPC TB 500, injecting it right into the site every single day. I was back in the gym doing squats at 135 in 4 weeks, if that tells you anything. My buddy, he's a military guy, had a meniscus tear in his knee. We gave him the BPC TB with some stem cells. 8 weeks later, went back, MRI, no tear, fully healed. So that's how good this stuff is. But yeah, as far as me, for anybody out there, in my opinion, and obviously not everybody's the same, but if across the board we had to kind of, like the spectrum of everybody had to choose a style diet to do that would keep them the most healthy, I would say the Mediterranean diet. So, people know what, like, you've seen the carnivore diet out there. It's just pure raw meat, all that kind of shit. Like, the meat's a good idea, but even they have new studies now. Obviously, carnivore can be any, most people think, oh, I just need a bunch of steaks. Well, they come out with a new study, too, that, like, lamb, has more protein per gram uptake in the body, even than red meat and beef and stuff. So like it's obviously a little bit fattier. It's not fattier than probably a ribeye steak, I'd say, but even lamb is a really good source. Now again, lamb's a little more expensive, tastes amazing. Not everybody likes the texture, but like they're coming out with new studies saying like, hey, lamb is actually a really good source of protein. You can absorb it much easier than even red meat. But yeah, we do Mediterranean. So for me, on a daily basis, I'll do only carb sources that I'll eat is going to be oatmeal, but it's got to be the gluten-free oatmeal. Quaker has the glyphosates in it. It's going to cause cancer, all kind of shit. Red Mill is really the only brand I use that's as healthy as you can get, and they have the gluten-free version. I do sweet potatoes. I'll do like red potatoes or the golden potatoes, but or regular baked potato, but I always eat the skin because it's going to have fiber in it, so it's going to help stabilize your blood sugar a little bit better than just, because potatoes are pretty starchy. Mm-hmm. And they have studies too, if you know what the glycemic index is, say like 0 to 100. Let's say the higher it is, the more sugar it is, the lower it is, the better. Well, they even showed like, say a potato. If you cook a potato and it's hot, let's say it has a glycemic index of 75, pretty sugary and starchy. You put it in the fridge, let it get cold, get it out, it will go down to like 50. So it'll actually change its composition a little bit and be less sugary and starchy if you eat it cold. So like for me, I like to do some kind of starchy carb after I train, but not like bananas because that's just super sugary. Even though it's a fruit, it's just too much sugar for me. I'll cook the little circle red potatoes and I'll eat like 3 or 4 of them after the gym cold, with some, the spray butter or something like that, or ghee butter obviously is your main clean source, something like that. I'll put a little bit on them and dude, they're amazing, something like that.
Yeah.
I do a ton of jasmine rice. Now, when we get into rice, that's a big thing most people don't know. You got to find the source. So a lot of the rice that's grown in the United States is, it was previously grown in the cotton fields, which is just laced with arsenic. So obviously you don't want to be eating arsenic. So, I tell people, hey, with your rice, see where the sources are from. There's 2 or 3 states, if it's made in, you're okay. I don't want to misspeak because I don't remember 100%. I think California is one of them, would be safe, maybe like Ohio. But again, if you're getting your rice from out of the country, you're safer. But now even that, it's crazy. A lot of the rice that they're selling is made of fucking plastic. It's got plastic laced in it to make more profits. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. But I mainly do jasmine rice. I get mine at Publix. And then really, I keep it pretty simple in the carbs.
Yeah.
Sweet potatoes, rice.
What about eating at night, eating early?
Yeah, so, I kind of always followed that bodybuilding mentality. I usually do 4 to 6 meals a day. So I usually wake up in the morning, hit my fasted cardio, take my growth hormone, peptides, all that, so I'm efficiently burning as much body fat in the morning when I wake up as I can, and then it boosts my metabolism throughout the day. So if people know what, a resting metabolic rate is, it means how many calories me and you are burning sitting here still. Mm-hmm. So if you do your cardio in the morning, you take your growth hormone peptides, you're maximizing your basal metabolic rate throughout the day. So if I do that cardio in the morning, I'm going to burn more calories throughout the day than I did if I didn't do it. So do the cardio, then I'll eat my breakfast. Usually I'm either a really big breakfast eater or a light one. It depends on the day. It's like this morning, I was in a hurry. I wasn't just didn't want to eat much. I drank my 60-gram protein shake of our Vital Force brand, and I had 2 cups of rice. That was my breakfast. Heavy days, it's usually, being honest with you, I'm not, I don't eat eggs and all that kind of stuff. A lot of them, just albumin in it. I'm allergic to it a little bit. It'll just swell me up or give me gut issues because I have autoimmune too. I've got ulcerative colitis. I've got IBS. Had it since I was a kid. Just horrible gut problems. So I have to be really careful what I eat. But I mainly do I'll do like 2 or 3 chicken breasts for breakfast with rice, man. Or again, I'll do the protein shake, mix that in with my oatmeal. But I'm a big oatmeal guy at night. I like breakfast for like dinner.
You like oatmeal at night?
Yeah. So honestly, for me, it's literally pretty basic. 2 or 3 chicken meals a day with the rice. That's my main source of carb is rice. My body does really well with it. I don't get fat. I stay filled out. Muscles feel good. Plenty of energy and carbs. And like I said, post workout, I'll do the red potato or the golden potatoes. Dinner, I do like to do my red meat a couple of times a week. So I'll do a big filet, big sirloin, usually pretty big too. We're talking like, I'll eat 14 ounces. I'll eat almost, I'll eat like a whole pound of meat at one time usually, at night. Yeah. And then I won't have to eat as many carbs, so at night before bed, I won't eat as many carbs, maybe 50 carbs around 10 o'clock. And if I go to bed at 11, 12 or 1, I've got 2 or 3 hours at least though before I go to sleep. So I don't like to eat like, a bunch of carbs right before you go to bed. At least a couple hours. Give it a couple hours.
Okay.
So yeah, man, it's my macros are probably 300 grams of protein a day, 400 to 500 grams of carbs. Maybe I only do residual fats. Like I said, if it comes from the steak or something, I don't do the oils. I do well with lower fats anyway, just enough to run my brain. So maybe 60 grams of residual fats a day is all I do. Like I can tell a huge difference. I'll look really lean one day, veins in my abs. Let's say I go out to eat the night before and I want to have my cheat meal and I do a couple of like burgers, tons of fat in them. I'll wake up next morning and, a lot of time I'll look a little watery on my stomach. But I could go out the night before and instead eat like clean sushi, like fish and rice. I'm like that. I'll wake up shredded. You know what I mean? So you got to learn your body and what it likes, what it doesn't like, and how it responds to for the look and the energy. That's a big thing that most people have no clue what their body.
Right, but you get a quick response. Like
exactly.
It sounds like you get a really quick one.
And that's why I do, because like I said, you get up, you do the fasted cardio, you got your metabolic rate pumping out good. That's where all that comes in, where everyone can have a great response just like me, and it doesn't take long, 2-3 months. We can take some super fat guy and have him, burning fat like a blowtorch is on his stomach in 3 months if we set everything up properly.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do. It's not rocket science. People overcomplicate it. These trainers, it's simple.
Yeah.
I could give him the exact same meal every single day and do the same thing. He could eat the same foods boring over and over and over and do the same thing. It's timing and absorption and things like that. You know what I mean?
And also knowing your composition of blood work and all that stuff.
Exactly, yeah, the blood work helps. But even without that, I mean, I could take any guy right now and get him shredded in 3 months or less, with the right position, if they just listen to what you say. You know what I mean?
Have you ever heard of something called the blood type diet?
That's why I was actually going to mention that. Yeah, the blood type diet is a real thing. It definitely helps. I don't think you should rely on that 100%. In my opinion, all the diets have their pros and cons. And some of them are fads. It's just to get you to buy their stuff, whatever. Yeah, the blood type, to know your blood type and what type of food you respond to is a good thing.
Are you eating based on your blood type? Because you say you have some. Type of.
Like I said, if I went in the book and looked right now, it's probably safe to say that I probably am eating based on my blood type to an extent, like 80%, but not because I read the book and did it purposely. Because I just know my body well enough over the last 15 years of bodybuilding, competing, and just eating different foods and seeing how I respond, just knowing that what foods keep me optimum and I feel the best, and I'm aware of that, knowing that that's what my body needs. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's definitely probably pretty close to my blood type, I would say.
Okay.
I think it's a great place to start if you have no idea what's going on. I would say, eat based on your blood type and then follow that Mediterranean style diet and just choose your foods off of that food list. And you're gonna win every time with that.
Now, if somebody checking this podcast out and like, you know what, I want to get my blood work done. I want to get all this stuff done. How do they find you? Where do they go? What is the first step?
So they can go to my Instagram page, which is Dr. Russ, dr.rruss. Obviously, my links in my link tree. You can go to the Peptide website, purchase Peptides there. You can go to the other link, which is my Alabama clinic, vitalforceal.com. They can book an appointment there. We can obviously, we can send a phlebotomist right to your home, wherever you are in the U.S., draw your labs. It's going to come back to us. We'll call you and do a telemedicine call, go over it, build your program, tell you what you need, take your payment over the phone, and ship your meds directly to your house if you want. Or obviously you can walk into the clinic and do it all there if you're in Alabama. I'm actually working on a deal right now. Should be in another clinic down here in Miami, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm just waiting on the contracts. If all that looks good with the attorneys, gonna put a nice little John Hancock on there, and it's already open, so I'm partnering with somebody. Nice. So if that's the case, we'll have a clinic right here in downtown Miami in the next 2 weeks to be able to work out of there too. But
that would be great.
We do a lot of concierge, you know what I mean? So you'll only come into the clinic to review your blood work. The cool thing is we make it simple. You know what I mean? You'll be able to fill your paperwork out online, pay online. The phlebotomist will come right to you. Like let's say you want your blood work done right now. We could call them. They'd come up here, be here in an hour, 30 minutes, whatever time you set your appointment, draw your labs right here in the room, and then they come back to our portal system. And then we call you at your appointment time and go over them, or you come right into the clinic, and then boom, we give you what you need, and
super simple, quick,
off to the races, bro. Yeah. Because obviously, being an entrepreneur, time is money, man. You got to be convenient. And most people don't want to go into a clinic. If they can avoid that, you know how bad traffic is, especially here in Miami. You know what I mean? If they can do it all from the comfort of their home, or even you say you're up here all day, every day, you can do it from here and get all your shit done, have your medicines even delivered up here to the office. Who doesn't want that? You know what I mean? So that makes life super simple. You know what I mean? We can have your package. Our programs, a lot of them, we do them in 3-month increments on the HRT. So yeah, you just get a package delivered every 3 months, set on auto, you know, pretty simple stuff.
Very cool.
So people love that. So again, it's very scalable too. You know what I mean? Because we don't have to have you coming in. You know, I can just have 2 or 3 nurse practitioners in the office, and all they're doing is phone calls all day long and Zoom calls and getting people set up and sending them their meds.
So now, obviously, we got a lot from your story personally and from the entrepreneur side. But what is the goal? What is the end goal? What's next for your movement and your empire, pretty much?
You know, I've learned something more recently from a guy, and I'll shout his name out. King Keto is obviously his branding name. Mm-hmm. You know, his name's Brandon. Obviously, he's a big fitness influencer here in Miami.
Carter.
Yep, Brandon Carter. So you know,
I like him.
I always had the mentality that he does. He's a little older. He's been doing a while, but you know, he said he put something on his story the other day, and like I kind of live by it, but I never really just kind of I never visually saw it. But he was just like, when you ask me that, what's the end game? You know, his response is, well, there is no end game. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, I think further past that. It's like I always want to improve. There's no, hey, I want to make $10 million and then I'm going to stop. It's like, you know, obviously you have your goals, but before you even get to the next goal, you've already made your next new goal, and you're never going to be truly satisfied. So that's kind of how I've always done things. You know what I mean? Being honest with you, with that mentality, it's like, it could be a double-edged sword sometimes, you know what I mean? But for me, I think it's a good thing if you have discipline and you're always motivated and driven like I am and grew up, because you know, I mean, I never thought I'd be honest with you, like you said, candid. I never thought I'd be even where I am. I mean, doing podcasts in Miami, people coming up to me in the gym, oh, you're Dr. Russ, man. I love your content. You gave me a lot of information on that last podcast you did with like Vincent Fisher. Dude, awesome stuff. Keep putting it out, you know, making millions of dollars, driving supercars around town. Dude, I never even thought I'd own one Lamborghini, much less 2 Lamborghinis, a Ferrari. I mean, you know what I mean? A Brabus G-Wagon. I mean, I got 5 pretty much, you know, supercars. It's like, dude, I never thought I'd even have one. Yeah. Because that wasn't really my focus. It wasn't, hey, let's have a bunch of cool stuff and material and cars. It was just, hey, let's, you know, like you said, I have a mission in life, and that's to help people. And when I focus on that, the money's going to follow. And that's what I say to all the young guys out there. If they're entrepreneurs, it's like, dude, obviously money's always in the back of your mind. You got to pay the bills. You want to have cool shit. Yeah, I want a jet like my boy Dom. You know, I want a couple of yachts like he has, and you know, a huge real estate portfolio that makes me passive income. Everybody wants to always have more, but it's like you're going to get there in your time. But you know, like you said, you got to just focus on what your original vision was. Like you said, being passionate about what you do. Once you find that and you just stick to it, that's all you do, you're going to get there, you know. And that's kind of how I live, man. It's almost day by day, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because I had a new perspective. When I pretty much almost died twice, had strokes, it's like, all right, you know, let's shift gears here, you know what I mean? I might not be here tomorrow, so I'm going to almost live every day like it's my last. So whoever I run into, dude, I want to almost give them a piece of me. I want to give them some sort of knowledge that they're going to carry. Even if it's just a handshake, some guy that might kill himself that day. I walk by him and shake his head. Hey, man, I'm Dr. Russell. Nice to meet you. Hope you have an awesome day. You may have changed his entire perspective on life because 10 people went by him before that, completely ignored him, looked the other way, just like the parables in the Bible with the guy on the side of the road. You know what I mean? Some guys walked by and spit on him. Some guys went to the other side of the road, and then some guys went and helped him up and did, you know, whatever it might be. The point is, you don't know what impact you're having on people. Yeah. And when you do that, bro, and you live that way, in my opinion, nothing else matters. The universe is going to reward you tenfold every time. I believe so. So that's just what I do. So yeah, it's hard to really say end game. I mean, obviously, if I had an end game, you know, just realistically, be comfortable where I can have freedom to travel, do what I want, when I want, not answer to anybody, and just impact people as I go. You know what I mean? That'd probably be the biggest end goal. Kind of like in the Bible, people don't really understand like the Hebrew meaning. When God says like, take up your cross daily and follow me, he basically, when you translate that in Hebrew, it just means to make disciples as you go. So it really just means wherever you are, whoever you come in contact with, make a difference in their life. You know what I mean? So even if you're not a Jesus believer, you don't believe in God, it's still, as a human being, we're all humans. It's the same concept. Wherever you go, you can make an impact. You know what I mean? So that's really my goal everywhere I go. And that's all that I do. So if I focus on that, everything else just falls into place.
So
that's,
super respectful. I definitely agree with that.
And obviously, I'm human too. I struggle with that every day. There's days I get up, I'm not motivated, and sometimes that shit doesn't happen, and I'm in a grumpy ass mood, and I might be a dickhead to somebody. But I always make sure that I make amends. And I'm like, shit, who was that I was an asshole to? Okay, I'm going to call them. I'm going to take time out of my day. That's the most important thing, and make sure I always keep my rep where it should be, make sure people respect me, and they know that, I'm here to help people, no matter what it is, no matter how small.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
aside from that, who would you say right now are people who are motivating you? Not necessarily role model, but we do talk about levels. Got $10 million level, $100 million level, and those levels to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Probably.
Who's mentoring you right now? Who are people you truly are taking a page out of their book?
Yeah, so like I don't really necessarily have someone directly mentoring me like daily or weekly or paying someone, but yeah, I mean like because my network's pretty big, I call a lot of my guys that I do know when I need help. Or I feel stuck. So yeah, I mean, like even last night, I called my boy Dominic Iacavone. I don't know if he'll get, if he'll be fine with me mention his name, but I went to chiropractic school with him. Been friends with him a long time. I was actually my clinic when I opened it, I didn't really say this. It was Revive Therapy and Wellness before it was Vital Force. So it was his company. I became the first, in a sense, franchisee. It was just when he first got to inception. And I was like, bro, I want to do this. This is my vision. So we kind of were on the same path. And I was like, dude, I'll be your first franchisee. This will be perfect. We're friends. We can kind of be in business together. I'll help you build some of these protocols. And so I jumped in on that. And like I said, he's the guy dude, he's probably worth $500 million. Huge portfolios, owns like 9 different businesses. So, I look up to him a lot. I called him last night and said, hey, man, I'm going to do this partnership with this other clinic. What do you think's fair? Here's what she's offering. And so, again, he gives me his advice, and I respect it because he's obviously multiple levels above me.
Right.
And he got there, obviously, he's been down here, so he had a lot more access probably to things that I'm now figuring out that I can have access to, too. So, maybe one day I'll catch up to him. Who knows? We'll see.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I look up to him a lot. So I got guys like that. And again, he's younger than me, you know what I mean? But I respect the hell out of him because he's an amazing person, crazy, killer entrepreneur. If you just look his name up, you'll see the companies he owns. And they probably do. Even just one of his companies, like $1 million a day and shit. You know what I mean? Crazy numbers. And you're just like, all right, dude. Yeah. Any information I can get from you, I want it at any point in time.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Pay you, whatever, for friends. Hey, if I can just have 5 minutes of your time, dude, I'm going to learn so much.
Yep. They set the standard, and it's
exactly.
It's an amazing thing. Aside from that, if you could give a good set of advice, what would be your advice to somebody young about to start an entrepreneurship? Want to get into fitness, want to leave a good, want to live a good life.
As in the fitness world, or just anything, just entrepreneur.
Somebody coming in and like, you know what, I would love to have my own business one day, have a long life, have a life I could be proud of. What would be your advice to that person?
There's so many things you could say here, but yeah, probably the most important thing is, number one, self-development on yourself. If you're young, like I was, I didn't know shit. You know what I mean? As much as my dad taught me, and he knows a lot. He's obviously tons of money, very successful his whole life, doctor. He didn't teach me half the stuff that I know now just from living down here, with some of these guys that are 10 steps above him. Maybe not even money-wise, but just, different levels and different compartmentalized sections of wisdom, no matter what it might be in. You know what I mean? For my dad, it was like, because he was a doctor, it wasn't always like business minded, you know what I mean? Because he goes and does surgeries and he gets paid a ton of money to do that. He's a smart businessman, but like someone like Dom, that's a whole different level of business. But then when it comes to like personal wisdom, spiritual wisdom, he might be 8 levels above the next guy that even makes 100 million. So there's different.
So there's always levels.
There's levels to different things, exactly. So I would say the biggest thing is self development and making sure that you know who you are. like you said, whatever path you want to go on, you got to make sure that you know exactly who you are, what you want to do with that, and the type person you want to be before you really start. So sit down, figure that out first. Obviously, the self-development is going to take years to do as you go, but you just sit down and write your shit out and go, okay, I believe that this is the path I want to be on. This is the type person I want to be. This is the type people I want to be around. And then just make sure you follow that. And then, like I said, you find a mentor that best fits that. And then, obviously, that's always key. Pay that person whatever they want. If they're legit, you've done your research, they're not BS, and they've been there and they've already walked the walk, and you just follow their advice, in my opinion, and that's gonna get you pretty far right there off the bat. You know what I mean? But there's obviously a lot more. But there's,
we could
that'd be the first basic thing. I'd say yes, the self-development, figuring out really what direction you want to go, and then just taking the fucking action.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. I thought about that on the way over here, because it's like, even me, where I'm at, like I said, there's levels, but even me, sometimes I'll get complacent, be like, all right, is this the right move? Is it not the right move? That's the hardest thing sometimes is, like you said, if you follow those first guidelines, you know who you are, you know what you really want, it's easier to take action and make those decisions when it comes to your business or your relationships, whatever it might be, because when you start doubting yourself, you get what I call the freeze effect, and then you waste time, and then you lose money too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, even for me, as being as successful as I am, I have those days. I've been in those the last couple of days, because like I said, I got a couple of big deals pending. I'm like, okay, am I going to do all these? Am I going to do one of these? Which one's going to pan out? And I'm like, hey, okay, I could do this one tomorrow. So it's, sometimes that weighs on you. It makes you a little bit anxious, but you got to go back to your roots and go, okay, I'm this person. This is the direction I want to go. All right, well then, out of these three, this is the smartest one right now. I'm going to go with that. And then you don't change your mind, and you just fucking go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And then you look back 6 months later, and then go, okay, cool, that was good, but maybe I should have done the other one, but you've still made that one successful, and then you make the next decision.
Yeah.
Because you're going to fail. It's impossible not to. That's what I've learned in business. Yeah, because if you don't make decisions and you're complacent, you're going to lose opportunities. You're going to lose money. But the biggest thing is, just that complacency is going to kill you quick.
Absolutely true.
But it's scary. You know what I mean? It's scary when you're like, okay, should I invest $100,000 in this? Should I do $1 million in this? I mean, even if you got $10 million and you're investing $1 million, it's still a big decision at the end of the day, because
it's 10% of your
exactly
liquid.
10% of liquid, whatever you have. Even if you're borrowing, it's like you're still on the hook for that. It's
100%.
like, okay. And a lot of guys do that, and that's where they fail when they're young entrepreneurs, is because let's say you got $1 million and you make 3 wrong decisions, 100,000 each. You're in a pretty tough spot at that point. Even though you got $700K left, you're like, well, shit, I just lost $300K. That took me 5 years to get. Now I'm back 5 years because of this one mistake.
And the money's worth less.
Exactly. So you got to make sure, like I said, you go back, you know who you are, you know what you want to do, you do your research, and then once you pull the trigger, you just don't look back. And even if let's say it was a subpar decision, you just got to make it work. Even if it's something you break even on, and you get out and you go to the next thing after that, and you learn from it. You know what I mean? You can't have it as a failure.
Yeah.
Even things like my summit coming out saying, it's like, I realized it didn't really work as online, but I put it into the clinics, and I basically made the best of it. And I made some money, not as much as I wanted, but I made it work. And then I was like, okay, we'll move on to the next thing. It's good right there. It's a smaller business, but let's hop to the next one. And recouped all my initial investment, made a little bit, and then it's like, boom, okay, I'm happy with that. I can take that. Yeah. Not a loss. It's not a big win, but it's still branding too. You know what I mean?
Right. So, there's a lot of win in that.
Exactly. In my opinion, it's still a win, because some people go, oh, I just didn't make any money in my business. I'm like, you break even? Well, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, whatever you did make, you got out to the people, whatever it was, you got some branding, you got some exposure, you learned some lessons, take that into the next venture, and then you're going to be twice as successful in the next one.
Absolutely, 100%.
Because that's what entrepreneurship's all about. You know what I mean? We wouldn't be entrepreneurs if we didn't risk.
No, not at all, man. And the I'll say the entrepreneur, the modern day warrior, which is why we don't really think, we just want to die in battle, so to speak, which is why we don't think about the end game.
Exactly. But, I try not to think about the end game too much. Like I said, you get too distracted. Yeah. But you want to have the goals. Yeah. For me, it's just I set a goal, whether it's realistic or unrealistic. get to close to that one, and then set the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like just saying like one of my business, the Alabama business. It's one of the hardest businesses I run because medically, it's one of the hardest states to do medicine in. That's more holistic. And I mean, it's like, okay, we want to do. Let's say when I very first started, all right, cool, it's brand new. I want to do $80,000 a month, starting at zero. Let's get to 80,000. Boom, let's say we get to 50. I'm like, all right, awesome. We did 50 in 6 months. Okay, so that means we scaled we went up 8,000 a month. Okay, cool. If I take that projection and go, okay, if I can keep going up 8 a month, we can get to, say, this amount in 6 more months. Cool, we hit that goal. Okay, let's see if we can double that out. All right, let's say we're at 100K. Can we go from 100K to 200K in that same time frame? And what do we need to do structurally and system-wise and sales and marketing to make that happen? And what were we doing before that got us there at the, 8,000 a month more net profit? Let's do 16 now, or 24. And that's the name of the game. Yeah. So you're always constantly honing, tweaking, changing till, you get to where you want to be. You know what I mean? It's like our goal right now is to try to do 300,000 a month in one of the clinics. You know what I mean? So it's like, we'll get there. It's just, but there's a lot of honing in, tweaking, changing, because at some point, every business, like you said, they have that cap point, that plateau point, and you have to either scale, open another one, even if it's a 5-mile radius and you open one right next door. It's just, hey, you can only have so many employees in one location, the space, the size, et cetera, unless you're like down here in Florida, because we can't do a lot of telemedicine in Alabama. So we're limited to how many patients we can really even treat. So it's like once we get to a point, it's like, okay, cool, we got to go open another one, and that's where your scaling comes in. But you don't want to do that until you make sure your systems and structures are perfect.
Yes.
So you always take your first one, you grow it, and you work out all the bugs and make sure that shit's running like a, well-oiled machine, and you take that model and then you just replicate. That's, to me, that's how you're successful in any business. Whether it's digital products, the services. Yeah, let's say you're a fitness influencer and you're selling diets and, workout plans. Well, obviously everyone's different. You kind of almost need custom plans, but I'm sure, even in my opinion, I can build, like for me, if I'm doing it, I'm going to build like a bulking program, and I'm going to build a shredding or cutting program. And I'm going to build those based off of what works for me, and then just kind of, I don't want to say generalize, but kind of dumb them down a little bit where almost everyone can get results, and then sell that to everyone, to the masses. And then as they conquer that, let's say it's a 16-week program, so they get into the 16 weeks, then we'll upsell them to a more one-on-one basis because they got great results. Let's say they lost 20 pounds in 16 weeks. Okay, boom, they're ready for the next level, just like in business. Now we're going to upsell them to the next tier. Instead of being $300 a month, it's going to be $700 a month, but we're going to have another coach that's, say, on my team that works with them a little more one-on-one, hones them in till they get to where they want to get. And then after that, let's say you're doing that, you could sell them on a mentorship if they want to now open their own business doing what you do. That's a good example of,
it makes sense.
Going from inception or something like that to a scaling arena where you could build off of. Because then now you're teaching other people how to do what you do, and then you're getting paid to do that too. So,
it's all full circle.
Yeah, exactly. That's almost like in my business, in the medical, it's like franchise. Like, okay, we've mastered it. We make this much money in each business. Here's what you're going to expect to see. Come in, look at everything we're doing. Here's your buy-in fee. We got everything turnkey for you. Cool. I'm going to take my cut. It's this much to buy in. I'm going to take 10% of what you make on the business, but we're going to give you everything, and you're going to make money doing it. And then boom, you just
right. And you got to put your time and your work and your sweat.
Exactly. And then you're growing your brand, because now you've got other people that are copying what you're doing, just like McDonald's or Starbucks or anybody else. And next thing you know, that's how you become a Fortune 500, or you become a 9-figure entrepreneur as you grow your brand into that. I mean, you think Starbucks is just selling coffee? No. As soon as I hear the word Starbucks, I think green aprons. You know what I mean? You hear McDonald's, you think of the big yellow M and Ronald McDonald. You know what I mean?
Real estate. They're a real estate.
Exactly. They're really realist. That's what I'm saying. But they're putting their money into something else. But still, that's the branding beauty of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you have to catch people, and they got to remember it. It's not even the food. The food's not that great. It's McDonald's, bro. It's fast food. You know what I mean? But why does everybody eat it? Because it's convenient. they make it taste pretty good, and the branding is really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're everywhere. So
They're everywhere. Exactly. It's the
for
convenience at that point too.
Convenience,
So like you said, that's obviously that's pretty simplistic, but a lot of people don't even think that far. You know what I mean? Because that's subconscious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The branding and the visuals of everything. Every time I see something green, a lot of time I think Starbucks now. You know what I mean? You see that green apron because it's just you see it enough and it imprints it. You know what I mean? Just like Nike and the check mark, just do it, dude. That shit's been around since I was a kid. But every time you see some sort of check mark, even if you're checking something on a box, my brain associates that with Nike.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's good ass branding. You know what I mean? So you have to have your brand. And that's where you become household name.
Yeah.
That's where you get that Fortune 500 label and you get really big. So it's all about branding. Just like my boy Dom, he owns Raw with CBUM and CBUM Energy. I mean, they've only been around a little while. They're like top 5 supplement company in the world now in like 2 years because they branded themselves well. They used, CBUM,
the talent,
the face and the talent, and they just the big R, man. Everywhere you go, you see that R, and it's like that's Raw. You just know, and it's like that. You know what I mean? Because everybody's getting on board. So,
well, I think I learned a lot with this talk. I think we go for hours talking about all this stuff.
We could switch gears. We could do all kind of stuff. We may just need to do a follow-up podcast and hone in on something specific.
I was gonna say you've been here for 2 years. You've made a lot. So I was going to say we definitely have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
And perhaps I don't know a next project and things like that. We'd love to hear about it, man.
Yeah. We'll do one once I get into these couple of things that are coming up. I'll have a lot more to talk about, tell you how that's going with the actual scaling of the businesses and the peptide company and all that stuff too.
Absolutely. I learned a lot. And maybe we could talk about some peptides for myself. We'll
exactly.
figure it out.
It's gonna blow up, like you said. I'm already the peptide king. That's how I'm branding myself. Everybody's starting to know what it is in Miami. You go to the gym. I've already got a lot of the guys at the gym on it at Elevation, giving everybody the T-shirts as you see here. Cool. This is the new shirt that I'm just started. I wanted to look more medical and professional, but it still gets the point across, and it's a really cool shirt. I feel like people wear them, and you got to have something to get your name out there.
I like it, man. I like it. Dr. Russ, I really appreciate your time for being here.
Appreciate you having me, man. It was great.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. I learned a lot,
awesome.
and I appreciate your character. I really do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And all day, every day, Empire is the way.